Okay guys, welcome back. Turns out my expert was really bugged up. You guys probably didn't hear me explain it because I have about a minute delay. But my expert was really bugged up and it wasn't opening properly, so I had to reset it, otherwise I couldn't check if we're in-game or not, and stuff like that. I'm running with a minute delay today for a specific reason that we'll talk about in a little bit. So apologies for that. That is all that happened there. I just had to completely close expert down to get it fixed. But it looks as though it's working now, and my screen also seems to be running a little bit better, maybe? I'm still not quite convinced. You see Marines and a Hellion pressing forward. Stalker going to get picked off, so Stalker already going down. That Hellion picked off as well. This early game, I honestly didn't get to see much. A few probes went down to the Reaper. A couple of SCVs have died, but Clem is up to an expansion with Marines here to defend. Stalker from Goblin will not be able to do too much more, considering it will have to push up that ramp if it wants to do anything else here. So Stalker won't be able to achieve all too much, as we do see a couple more Marines on the way out. The Viking coming in from Clem in the main base. And Goblin going to send this Phoenix out across the top side. Also going to come along and head into that main and see what's going on. Siege tank building up from Clem. Obviously, we've seen this kind of be a very typical way to get going in TVP as of late. Siege tank, very safe. Viking as well, also very safe actually. He goes to use the Vikings a little bit of a kind of harassment technique at 2-shot probe, so it's pretty powerful in that regard. Cyclone stays locked onto that Stalker because of the high ground vision given by the medevac. Doesn't quite get the final kill, but these Marines push straight up into the natural. That's going to be a dead pylon. One Phoenix right now can lift up the Cyclone perhaps, but it will probably be targeted down very quickly by the Marines. There it is, that's the lift up. I'm surprised we don't see Marines targeting that Phoenix. Now we do. The Phoenix will be killed before the Cyclone dies. 5 probes killed, and obviously still more damage being done here as Clem just continues this pressure, and Goblin falling apart a little bit to the point of it being a GG. As we jump into game number 2, in the bottom right hand corner, our red Terran player from Infinity Gaming. It's Clem in this Infinity Gaming showdown. We've got to the top left Goblin, the blue Protoss player. It's a little bit more TVP action here as we continue through with the action of day. Now again, here's a little bit of a heads up for everybody. In about 3 hours and 45 minutes, I am going to be playing in the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Twitch Rivals Streamer Showdown with Nathanius. So here's the, that's also very exciting. It's a big tournament. I think $75,000 on the line in the region I'm playing in. I'm playing in America because I'm with Nathanius. That's actually really exciting. I'm going to be streaming that, so this is going to be a really long stream. The downside is, if the StarCraft isn't done in 3 hours and 45 minutes, I will unfortunately have no choice other than to miss the final game or two. I imagine it will only be like one series or so that's left over at that point. But if that is something that's happening, still, I will have to miss the final series today, and you guys will have to watch on the other streams. It's simply, I mean, I just can't give up the opportunity to play in something like this because there's a lot of money on the line, and me and Nathanius used to be pretty good at PUBG back in the day, so maybe we can sneak some cash in today. That's the plan, at least. So that's coming up, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be live for at least probably like 10 hours. It's going to be a long stream, put it that way. It's going to be a real long stream. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to hanging out with me for a while. What's up, Ardu? Coming in with the fresh sub. Ardu, the winner of our IEM Katowice prediction contest. If you guys didn't take part in that, it was awesome. We had over 600 participants over the 6 days of IEM Katowice taking part in a prediction contest, and it came down to the wire. I mean, there was only a few points separating the top 10 positions, which all got prizes from, I think, a $50 first place prize all the way through to Twitch subs and Corp commanders and announcers being given out. It was a lot of fun. Make sure you keep your eyes on our Discord server for more fun and games like that. We'll probably be doing a WESG prediction contest as well, starting up this week. So go and check that out as we kick off into this game. Thank you so much, Ardu, for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated. Well, as TVP gets kicked off with a Stargate opening here from Goblin, getting that underway. A Stalker being Corona boosted out from Goblin as well. Nexus coming down on the natural. And in the natural expansion of Clem, we see this command center dropping in as well. The Adept and the Reaper having a little bit of a dance. We are going to be seeing this Adept just coming in, just going to be able to pick away at this SCV. So SCV will go down, 71 out of 71 command center. A little bit frustrating. It's not a huge delay though. I mean, their Adept shades away pretty quick. And the other SCV coming down obviously doesn't have to be here for long to be able to finish this command center up. Command center will finish. Adept will not be able to get up to the high ground here. Good depot raise And information denied because the factory second racks has all been built quite far away from the front. And this is a second racks very quickly. Looks a bit like a 2-1-1. Now, Clem is going to build a Widow Mine rather than a reactor and a starport. And that might just be a kind of cause for concern in terms of what his opponent is doing. And Widow Mine will keep you a bit safer. It does mean the medevacs will be a bit late as well, though. Let's see here. Starport reactor should come down as that Widow Mine finishes. The Stalker currently dancing at the front. Widow Mine will do a good job to kind of push these gateway units back a bit. But I tell you what, without a bunker, this is so frustrating. And this is why you obviously usually go into like a faster factory. And this is going to be an attempt at a depth shade trick to kind of set that Widow Mine off without picking up a kill. And SCV is going to start repairing, and Goblin seems to have missed his moment as he is producing Phoenix off of the Stargate. First Phoenix actually pops in, gets a full scout, so now Goblin is aware of what Clem is going for. And these 16 Marine drops are, well, a little bit out of fashion in TVP. Definitely hasn't been something we see a lot of in the matchup. You can see that Adept wants to come in, but if it does, it's going to be tough because there's going to be plenty of units here to maybe try and jump on it. And the Adept timing just, well, he kind of hesitated at the very start of that there, and that did cost him the chance to set that Widow Mine off. So unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen, as you do see the two Phoenix from Goblin coming down the bottom side, heading in towards the main base. And a few more Marines just popping out. A couple medevacs on the way in production. Tech Lab dropping in on the factory, and SCV getting picked off as well. A couple of SCVs getting picked off so far. So 2 SCVs killed. These Stalkers going back into the natural expansion. Robo facility dropping down from Goblin. More and more Phoenix coming out for now. And with this Phoenix count already, you would expect this to turn into a Phoenix Colossus sort of playstyle, which is what this Robo base suggests as well. As Clem, well, starts to move out on the map. Stim's about to be done. His medevacs will come and join up. I mean, one of the most important things with these medevacs is not to let them fly ahead of the army. Don't let them get picked off by the Phoenix. That would be hugely detrimental in this stage of the game. That Widow Mine mixed in as well. There's not a lot from Goblin on the ground. A lot of this will come down to the Phoenix ability to lift and make some snipes. Those Phoenix taking some shots. I like what Clem has done, though. He hasn't stimmed any of his units apart from this one to get in front. He's just keeping an eye, making sure, okay, you know, I'm not going to overstim and just chase after those Phoenix. He's like, okay, I'll just pull my medevac back, send my Marines forwards, and that'll do for now. Keep my Marines on high energy, keep my medevacs with high energy as well. And as Clem comes to the top side, he's just checking for the third base so far. Phoenix actually going to head to the top, afraid of a drop. As Clem approaches the front, the Widow Mine will get to burrow here. I don't believe there is detection available. Zealot will give itself up. Shield battery can't heal a Widow Mine. It's not that good. Good force fields, but it will just kind of send the Marines off to be kind of picking their way through this gateway. The shield battery is less than half energy now, so there's not a lot left on it. Marines will stim again in a moment, perhaps, to keep fighting here. Does Clem want to fight? Again, that shield battery is out of energy. He's killed a gateway. It probably is time to get away. Goblin's getting a couple more warpins going. Those Phoenix are still a big threat. As soon as you start losing units on the ground, those Phoenix fly in. And when the Phoenix fly in, they're going to lift up the rest of the Marines and shut down the medevacs. And obviously at that stage, this becomes a big problem. And that's not what you want to have happen. There's the Twilight Council from Goblin starting up in the main base. Phoenix up on the top side. And again, the Marines just coming around the left, going to head in towards the natural here perhaps in the next few moments. There's 2 gateways dropping down in the natural expansion. Phoenix back to the low ground here to hang out with the rest of this army. Goblin still hanging around, looking to see what he can maybe get done. As we're going to be seeing his command center still going up, some extra gateways dropping down, +1 attack, extended thermal lance. All of this still coming through for the moment, as we are seeing Phoenix or Goblin hanging around. And here we go, more Marines, tank, etc. just heading across to the top left side of the map here, getting ready to continue. Alright, so all of these units just getting set up to go, and we are going to be having this army from Clem ready to push forwards towards the natural expansion. The tanks get sieged up. I mean, if the tanks can target fire down the Colossus, and then splash damage disappears pretty quickly here. It really does. Otherwise, it is just purely Marine, which kind of melts the Colossus, so those tanks need to get rid of it ASAP. Phoenix can't do a lot, because if they come in and lift up a tank, these Marines turn around and pick off the Phoenix very quickly anyways after that. So have to be very careful. I love this Observer just staying sieged up, keeping an eye on the army of Clem, just making sure he knows where it's at. Third CC though from Clem moving out, and with no third base from Goblin yet. That's just kind of standard when you play kind of fast Colossus, you sort of wait a little while before expanding. With this being the situation, I think it's kind of, you know, fine for Clem just to not pick a fight. He doesn't necessarily need to, although the Marines will find themselves in position force a cancel on the pylon, chase a couple probes away from the side. He finds the Phoenix, he gets underneath them. 1, 2, 3, Phoenix down before they finally start to pull away. Oh man, Goblin just lost his Phoenix count. That's a huge pick off from Clem. What a moment to jump on those Phoenix when Goblin just is not paying attention, is not ready for a fight. Now tank sieging again, as we're going to be seeing a single Marine starting to lead the charge in. This army of Goblin hanging out towards the third base. Phoenix still flying around. Observer up in the skies. Tanks will unsiege. And this army from Goblin is going to look for the fight here. Tanks will be late to the fight. I mean, the Phoenix, a couple of them now left, lift up tanks, and honestly, the tanks go down very quickly. The Colossus will survive this, and that means that the Colossus will just push their way through the rest of the bio, no problem at all. Clem's about to take an upgrade lead, but it's not here yet, and again, against Colossus, you just need something to be able to fight against them. Right now, Clem does not have that in his army. Those tanks were unsieged, they went down way too fast, and that is the big problem here, as one tank finally gets sieged up on this ramp. I don't think that's enough of a threat, though. His plan to spread himself out, maybe get set to pull SCVs into this. Another tank going to siege up in a bit more of a forward location. Remember, no third base from Goblin, so Clem doesn't necessarily need to hold this third base location just yet. He can definitely lift it up, pull it away for a little while, buy himself some time. You can see the Phoenix finding some low health medevacs. Really nice pickoff. Would have been even nicer if, I mean, the thing is, Clem keeps making medevacs here. If he was trying to get up to Vikings, losing the medevacs right there would have been really painful. There's a immortal shot. The tank hits the immortal, so the barrier goes off. Goblin still trying to press forwards here. This tank going to want to siege up the orbital command. Again, can definitely lift up to give you more of a concave. A few probes going down across the map. Didn't quite catch what that was. Definitely waiting for this fight to happen. You can see the Adepts are going to shade right in. Tanks get lifted by the Phoenix as well. It's a massive issue. Good force fields on the bottom side also. Going to cause a lot of clogging. A lot of units just not able to get through and to really fight for Clem here. The tanks will drop back down. He is target firing nicely. One of the 3 Colossus is dead. The other one is in the medevac. And another one kind of brought low. Clem's army supply is still kind of here. He just needs to give up this third base and hold the high ground. He doesn't have another tank though. In fact, he's got nothing off the factory just yet. Still nothing in production. He's got more Marauders in the army though. That's good against the Colossus, but it's bad against the Zealots. Without the Marines, you don't have the DPS to necessarily take down the Zealot front line. There's a couple of Marines trying to stem forwards, trying to shut down those Phoenix actually. This Phoenix still just hitting the orbital as Goblin and Clem's army supply are the same, but that's a big issue for Clem because Goblin's army is better with those Colossus. However, +2 attack upgrade about to finish from Clem, so he's going to have a huge upgrade lead, an entire set of upgrades in his favor. He's making Vikings, but I wonder if it's too late to make Vikings. Third base does survive. He could maybe take that to the top side third base now instead over here. It could be definitely a better way of approaching this. Take that third base rather than this one down on the bottom. Tank will set up as well, so you can hold this high ground, and then obviously if Goblin moves around this side, tank can reposition over here. I mean, time is actually Clem's friend at the moment. There's still no third base of the Protoss player. Probe's long distance mine are actually being picked off by a Marine. This Marine will get a lot of kills with the upgrades it has. 4 probes just from 1 Marine hanging out up here. Again, just that long distance mine was already pretty ineffective. Now it's even more so. Colossus picking up a Marine on the ramp, and Marines and the Vikings at least able to get a couple pot shots off on the Phoenix here now. We're going to see some hallucinated Archons. Clem needs to make sure he doesn't waste too much damage time on these. Does waste a little bit though. Tank gets lifted up immediately by the Phoenix. The Vikings going to get picked off pretty quickly. There's a little bit of bio that's trapped by the force field. Needs to reposition. That's the problem. He does lift up and pull it back. There's a lot of sentries in this army of Goblin. That actually might turn out to be a problem because he won't have a lot of damage output here. Especially with the 2-2 upgrades of Clem now finished. And it might just be upgrades that save Clem in this game. And also the lack of an answer to Phoenix at all, because there is absolutely nothing to kill these at the moment. There is like a couple of Marines. Feels like, I mean, there's 8, but I mean, there's almost 1 Marine per 1 Phoenix per Marine. So really lifting up those Marines is currently not a problem. You can understand why he's afraid to make, to make more Marines, because he wants to make the orders to survive the Colossus fire. That said, with +2 armor now in play, I actually feel like he shouldn't be too worried about the Colossus compared to as he was before. Still no third base here from Goblin. This Marine gonna get picked off now as these probes come forwards. Still gets another kill. That Marine has been an absolute hero, considering there's just 1 Marine watching for that third base. Go again. Phoenix gonna pick up the Viking. Sentries get a bit more energy going. This time though, Clem will get around the top side of the army. He's able to jump on the Colossus. Nice save with the War Prism, but obviously it's just not quite enough, and the Phoenix are not lifting up the Marines as they kind of need to here. Now they're on top of the Marines. Oh no, this is a disaster. Clem able to pick it up. Good continued defense. Very good continued defense as Clem going to take that 2-0 and close this out. Thank you so much, Medicine. You guys are just really, really quiet today. Is it going to be that time of the, is it going to be that month again where everyone's like, oh, you know what? Katowice is over. I've spammed so much in Twitch chat for the last month. I'm just not going to say anything again until June. Because that happened last year. We had like 2 months on the stream where the viewership was still pretty good. The viewership was going fine. And like, just no one ever talked. And I was like, is anyone listening? Hello? Is there a world outside? Is the entire world just winter view bots? See, we got Mark in the chat. He's hyped. I gave UFM the toughest group of all. Group C and D now announced on Liquipedia, Team Liquid, wherever you want to check them out. Do check them out. UFM's going to be playing on Friday in Group D. That's the top left-hand side. Our Blue Zerg player. We've got Denver. Another player from Infinity Gaming, man. Again, this group is like Infinity Gaming players and French players. It's ridiculous. As Goblin, our bottom right-hand side Protoss player, looking to try and bounce back from a loss in the first series today. So opening up a gateway on the low ground as Goblin will be looking to expand and head in towards a very standard setup here on King's Cove. Hatch, Gas, and Pool from Denver looking to be a very similar story as well. So getting that set to roll. Extractor dropping in on the main base. And we do see the spawning pool coming in as well. How should they fix Terran? I don't know. Maybe they could remove the Marine, and then Terran would finally be balanced. Maybe Terran players could actually just stop losing every time we need them to prove that Terran's okay. I don't know, man. I think if you want to start balanced discussion, you should just not watch the stream, because reality is no one in chat's really qualified to talk about balance, apart from maybe you, Thermal. So how about we just don't go there today? Because yesterday I casted like 10 PVTs in a row, and I didn't want to even look at the chat because it was like, "Ray, I just saw a Marine die to Storm. Admittedly, it stood in the storm and it was only one Marine, but did you see it? One Storm, one shot a Marine!" And it was like, well, no fucking shit, buddy. That's what Storms do if you don't go out of them. I'm not saying the game's perfect right now, but like, it's really not fun to watch Twitch chat just complain about balance all the time, because there are some ridiculous things that get said. There was some suggestion yesterday that I actually kind of like rolled my eyes so hard at they actually fell out and like rolled down the street. I was like, oh fuck, I can't see anymore. It's a little silly. Alright, kicking this off, Robo Facility coming in the back of the main. We see 8 Zerglings from Denver coming down to the bottom right side. 8lings is pretty aggressive, despite the hatch gas pool, and can definitely kill a pylon if you're not careful here as Goblin. That's exactly the goal, but the probes on the low ground should be able to pull in to help defend. Should be able to pull in to help defend. He'll rebuild the pylon already. Oh, she just doesn't pull in the probes at all. Wow, she will lose power to his gauge in his cyber core. And those 4 lings will go chasing up this ramp and go chasing down that Stalker. Stalker taking a couple of shots. Just going to build another pylon as well, just in case the link would follow up. Obviously, with an aggressive opener like this, you might just be looking to try and, amplify the effectiveness of a link flood, as the kind of, go-to afterwards. Oh, nice block with the Stalker. Stops the link from catching up with that probe. Good positioning. I like that from Goblin. A little bit of micro. Probably did save that probe right there. Subsidiary, how you doing? Thank you so much for the 27-month resub. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. How you doing? 27 months, 2 and a bit years. Thank you. Clearly something is wrong if Marines can die. Yeah, that, you know what? We figured it out, guys. What we need to do is give the Marines the immortal barrier. But, okay, I've got it. Every Marine, if it stands next to another Marine, amplifies the effectiveness and length of the barrier by 10. So, like, one Marine on its own's, like, still bad, right? But if you get 10 Marines, your barrier's, like, 100 times more effective. That seems fair, right? We've nailed it. Let's get it in the game. God, I wish I had the ability to just kind of make stupid balance things and just sort of play with them and see how ridiculous it could be. Can you imagine how stupid we could make StarCraft 2 if we just changed the balance? This is a big all-in, by the way, from Goblin. No natural gases. Lots of gates up in the main base. That's going to be 7 gates in total. He only made 1 immortal here. There's going to be some Stalkers warping in. He continues to mine gas in the main, although only 2 workers on each. So a lot of Stalkers to deal damage. We do see Denver is setting up with some roaches. A Spine Crawler on the natural to defend this. Doesn't really help with the initial attack on the third. No sentries at all with this either, though, which is interesting because it means there's not going to be any force fields to kind of dictate where the Zerg can fight. You can see that Goblin just leaves the third base alone. He wants to go for the units here. Some drones will pull in. Roaches on the back will fight a few zealots as well. This is not bad. Only one immortal in this, as the Lings do have speed to come in. They're very good against those stalkers. If the Roaches can deal with the zealots and the Lings get on the stalkers, this should be a very effective hold. And you can see the Warp Prism backing away will be able to get a warp in off. Well, Roaches and a few more Lings coming forwards just need to back away. The extra Lings are huge because getting the Immortal to fire on Lings instead of the Roaches is really, really effective here. He's going to push forwards now, picks off another Stalker, really reducing this to just that one Immortal, which has already picked up 11 kills, by the way. As more and more Roaches come out, this generally looks to be very good, I think, for Denver. He's got Queens on top of the Warp Prism, so the micro potential on that is going to be limited. He's already microing units down to the low ground, as Goblin does not seem to have enough to keep on fighting. Lings, Roaches, and Queens continue to gather between the natural and third base. Couple more units warping in, and we will see Goblin heading up into the third. I'm going to try and hit that Stalker. Hit that Queen, sorry. Still a little bit of damage. Couple more Ravagers coming in. Queens, Roaches, Ravagers setting up as a couple more depths going to go shading on through. Wings and Roaches and Queens continue to pop out a couple corrosive vials, and the Zealot does go down pretty quickly there. Ravagers still firing away. Another couple of Zealots getting picked off. Roaches, Ravagers, and Queens do push those units away down the ramp. There is a couple of depths on the natural. That's annoying. Oh, corrosive vials on the warp and in Prism, and oh my god, it just survived. The Immortal jumped into it too. I mean, you have to imagine Goblin knew it had enough health to survive, otherwise that Immortal would not have gone in there at that time. I mean, the lost mining time from these drones running around all over the place is painful, and it's one of the things that's stopping Denver from just playing an easy, shutting this down. A couple of adepts back in towards the natural. If you get rid of these, it really does take away, because you don't want to warp in 2 more adepts to replace them, right? You want to keep on warping in Zealots, Stalkers, the other units that are really going to help you win the game with the big push. Denver has maintained an 8-worker advantage. He's still building Roaches, and with the Lings already out this time and more Queens coming in too, it feels like the longer this goes, the better it is for Denver, because there isn't more Mortals joining the fray here. These Zealots don't have charge, so kind of the numbers there don't kind of get to that critical mass as much as they might do with a charge all in. He's going to see Lings straight on top of the Immortal, the Stalkers as well. As soon as there's Lings on top of those, they just die so quickly. You can see that the Prism gets pushed back as well, which takes away again that micro potential. The Warpin is really far away, so these extra units take a long time to join the fight, and it just gives a lot of time for Denver to just put out damage on the units at the front. Queens, Roaches, and Ravagers continue to fight here. Zealots going to get taken down again and again and again. And there's only really actually Stalkers and an Immortal left now, which is again really not that tanky at all. I guess the Immortal can take a few shots and microing away. Goblin will pull back to the middle of the map, but Denver just continues to set up into this very strong position. Could probably even afford a few drones at this point, because he has shut it down that heavily. At the same time, why build drones if you can just continue building units and potentially go across the map for a huge counter? He just had a huge swell of Zerglings again, a surround on this army, and this is troubling because the surround not only stops you backing away, it locks you in place for those corrosive vials to connect as well. Goblin really trying to fight to the end. He's done a lot of good things in this as well, keeping this Immortal alive to get 28 kills, keeping the Warp Prism alive so long through Queenfire, corrosive vial attempts. All of this is very, very successful stuff from Goblin, but at the end of the day, Denver just had the right amount of units, the right fights overall, and again, as much as Goblin tried to extend his life in this game, in his first game of the series, it's just not going to be enough. And you can see now that Denver's army supply is getting out of control. He will feel comfortable enough to not only start drones, but a lair and an evolution chamber as well. So teching up, investing into upgrades, all of these little things that will go a long way to help out. As a couple more depths get warped in, Immortal, couple Stalkers still in this Prism, and we are seeing this Observer from Goblin just hanging out overhead as well. Another Ravager pops up, more Zerglings on the way out, and the lair about to complete in the main base. Goblin, he knows that this isn't going to go too well for him, trying to defend across the map against this onslaught of Zerg units. So he gets out of there, and Denver picks up game 1 of this top left-hand side. A red Zerg player, as we continue this Infinity Gaming showdown. This is Denver in the upper left-hand side of the map. Bottom right, our blue Protoss is Goblin. And in case you're just wondering what's coming up for the rest of the week, on tomorrow or Friday, both in the evening times, I'm going to be casting the same event, the Katowice Afterparty, by myself and TakeTV. Shout out to TakeTV for giving us some of the prize money to support this. And, of course, on Saturday, we're going to be having the playoffs for this event. And that's actually going to be it for the week. On Sunday, I am traveling to an event to do some commentary. If you guys can figure out what event that might be, I wonder. Yes, I do wonder. But I'll be traveling to do some commentary next week on something. Yes. I can't announce what it is yet, but I do want to tell you guys I won't be on my channel. But once I come back after that, it's going to be a lot of fun StarCraft action. Going to have loads of content for you guys. Should be really, really sick. So looking forward to it. And just want to bring you guys loads and loads and loads of StarCraft 2. Once I'm back. Obviously, it's been a bit of a quiet month, this one. Oh, the last kind of couple of weeks because I was casting the Katowice Afterparty stream. I actually took some time off for myself to just get my life sorted out after streaming a lot through the first kind of well, throughout December and January. I was streaming pretty much non-stop. So in February, it was pretty non-stop as well. It wasn't quite as crazy, but a week off to really focus on real life has helped a lot. And come back with a really good focus. Obviously, it was really nice to do it before Katowice because it meant I was able to cast the B stream with some really good commentary, I feel. But unfortunately, it did mean my stream was offline for 2 weeks, so that's one of the, issues of the game. It's what happens. Again, we're back this week, gone next week. When I come back at the end of March, we've got content lined up for weeks on end. I shouldn't be taking any more breaks until the first WCS stop of the year, basically. So it's going to be like another 2 to 3 months solid of StarCraft 2 content. We've got the China Team Championship coming up. I'm working on, and this is first time announced, first time I'm mentioning this to anyone, I'm working on a new edition of the WardiTV Team League. It's going to be a bit different to before, a bit smaller scale in terms of how it plays out, but it should still be a lot of fun. There's going to be loads of StarCraft, basically, and it should be really awesome, so make sure you keep following the channel, make sure you keep tuning in. As we do see Lair on the way up at the moment, so getting that Lair going. A lot of Lings, this is looking like a Ling Queen Nidus all in. You just get a lot of Lings, so it's kind of like a Ling flood, but with the Nidus network, you're able to get the Queens across the map as well. And just 2 or 3 Queens goes a long way to helping out. The Robo facility doesn't help you much with defending this because an Immortal is not that good against Lings, believe it or not. This is no Ling speed though, which is a bit funky. So is this just going to be slow Lings? It seems so. It seems so, and that's obviously going to be okay if there's a Nidus in play, but still a bit interesting. Twilight Council 2, if you get up to Templar Archive, seeing an Archon, obviously that's absolutely amazing to help deal with this attack. But can you get there? Because you have to wait for the Twilight to finish, then the Templar Archives, then morph in High Templar and morph them into an Archon while being safe. It's not going to be easy at all, as 2 Queens and 30 plus Zerglings are about to come out of a Nidus network into the main base, because the Nidus is going to drop here. Goblin does not have vision to the corners of his base either. He is a little in the dark, although, okay, the Stalker's going to move around. We'll have a little bit of an eye on what's coming in. Nidus about to finish. Where's he going to drop? The Stalker goes back over here. He is going to drop in the back of the natural, though, so Denver will be visible on this Nidus network. Just going to be seeing the probes, just going to be nibbling their way through this Nidus Worm right now. Then you're going to see the Zealot and the Stalker able to pick their way through this a little bit, but the Queens pop out. There's a Transfuse, and the slow Lings start to pile on through. This hits so early that Wolfgate isn't done yet, and Immortal's on the way out. So actually this was going to be a charge on Immortal attack, not any sort of Archon drop. Now there's another pylon here, unpower that. I mean, Wolfgates are on the way in, but does it matter if these gates get unpowered? Well, I guess it does, because there's a lot of gates in the main base. Lings over here at the moment are overwhelming. That Immortal gets lifted up, although it's in a pretty good spot anyways. Ling's going to go in towards that mineral line and pick away at a bunch of probes. Hold position on the probes, trying to minimize damage. It messes with the AI of the Zerglings, but then hold position on the Zerglings allows them to keep on fighting here. 10 workers, 12 workers down already, and these Lings obviously are not going anywhere at the moment. The Immortal might run around. More Lings showing up. I mean, the slow Ling Nidus all in is kind of funny, as a Spine Crawler will begin to build. Another Immortal on the way. The thing is, Immortals, they've got a lot of survivability, but they don't kill Zerglings very quickly because they do a lot of overkill, basically. That Nexus on the low ground taking a lot of damage too. Ling's actually just going to target this Nexus in the main, and that's what I mean about these Immortals just not able to clean up the Lings fast enough. It's actually a realistic choice just to right-click down the Nexus. Goblin loses this Nexus. If he loses the one on the low ground, he's not going to be able to rebuild a Nexus in this game. And I think Denver's probably just going to pick this up as a Ling going to pick their way through the natural. What even is this? I don't know. As more and more probes go down, again, the Immortals will be able to do a little bit here and there, but There's 10 probes left. I mean, I guess there's only 15 drones from Denver as he makes some of his drones into spine crawlers here. Spines will add quite a bit of damage to this. Charge will never come up. Probe's going to try and do something on the low ground, but yeah, you go. Just right-click that Nexus. Now Goblin can never re-expand. It's going to GG out of the game. Just feels like there's too much to be done with the Immortals, and you can't really go across the map either because he won't win the base trade, I don't think. And obviously, Denver just keeps on spamming out Zerglings. Whereas Goblin can't build anything else, just sitting at home and continuing to defend doesn't really gain you anything. GG. And that's going to be death. As we have got to the top left-hand side, our blue Terran player from O Gaming as we start up the first of the 3 France versus France matchups tonight. This is MarineLorD, and he will be playing the rest of his series back to back to back here. So, I mean, this is the first match we see of him, but we'll see all 3 MarineLorD matches in a row now. So we'll have MarineLorD Denver, MarineLorD Goblin, then MarineLorD versus Clem, and the final series today will be Clem versus Denver. Just 4 players in this group. Bit of a shorter group than usual. We kind of start doing kind of 5-player round robins as the kind of the go-to, the standard. As we have Denver, bottom right-hand side, Rezzerg from Infinity Gaming here. We used to do kind of 5-player, we started doing 5-player round robin groups as the standard because it gives you 10 best of 3s, and if you'd play kind of 2 matches at the same time, the players actually end up staying around for a little bit less than usual, like 1 series less. And we have 4 extra best of 3s to cast, right? Although we do them for replays, but they're very fresh replays, right? And no one knows the results, so it's actually kind of like just watching it live. This group was kind of, or this tournament was kind of hard to get 20 players just because a lot of people are going to be traveling to WSG over the weekends. They wouldn't have been able to play. So with those players traveling, we decided just to run a 16-player tournament, kind of back to what we used to do. This is kind of the fear of it though, right? We've done 2 best of 3s already, and it's only an hour into the tournament. If the rest of the best of 3s are this long as well, I mean, we could be done in 3 hours, which is what we kind of try to avoid by doing the 10 best of 3s, right? You can make the stream as long as you like, because after the 5 live matches, you can decide how many of the replays you want to do as well. So, you know, it's a little bit funky, a little bit interesting, but at the end of the day, it's all gonna work out just fine. Once again, we'll probably do more kind of 5-player groups later on in the future. There's some fun tournaments coming up at the end of this month that hopefully we're going to get to cast, and just in general going to do a whole... I'm just so excited for the StarCraft in the next few months. It's going to be great. I'm really just excited about the future of producing games for y'all and producing tournaments and stuff we're going to run. Again, we had such a successful December and January. It's really kind of bolstered our resources to run events for the next couple of months at least. So we're definitely going to be doing a lot of that. The Patreon actually has a lot of support on it right now, so we're going to be bringing you guys more events from the Patreon. The WardiTV Arena, for example. That kind of stuff, right? That's the sort of stuff we want to do for you guys. We want to put out lots of tournaments, and again, the more you guys support. For example, this tournament, we put the donation bar up and say, if you guys can fill this donation bar, it's funded this tournament. And that just means that the money that I've guaranteed put myself into it already, if we fill that donation bar, it just means I can put that money into another tournament because it's already set aside as tournament money. So that's the whole plan. Put loads of money into StarCraft. And that's what I always want to feel you guys are doing with this stream. If you're supporting, if you're subscribing, if you're donating, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the players, the StarCraft 2 scene, because we're putting money back into it as much as we can. Don't know why I went on such a speech, such a rant there. Just, start talking, and sometimes I just don't shut up. Barracks moves away from the tech lab, making room for that starport to take its place, so probably seeing a Cloak Banshee as the openings here. Cloak Banshees have really come a lot back into popularity recently, as you do see the Reaper, a couple of Hellions from MarineLorD down toward the bottom right-hand side. A couple of SCVs continue to pop out, and the Marine in the main is going to go and push that Overlord away. Not building up any other add-on on this barracks just yet. That'll probably come just after one Marine, just after this Overlord is guaranteed not to get further into the main. See what it's going to be. Perhaps just a tech lab. Then the factory can go to a tech lab. Rax can build on the reactors. You know, this Rax can go over here for the stim pack eventually. He could just start stim pack right away as well, depending on the timing of all this. If he wants to play bio, he might be looking to play mech, which is always a possibility when you go into this... well, when you go into King's Cove especially, it's such a large map, but just the mapping, just the kind of style in general, Hellion Banshee, it does have a mech follow-up to it. Especially if you get the armory and go for a Hellbat attack, so it's definitely a possibility here. There's a couple of Hellions go running in, and already Zergling's taking quite a bit of damage. So a good few Zerglings already going down as this Banshee pops out and starts to head down. to the bottom right-hand side. Armory dropping in the back of the main base, and it's going to be seeing those Hellions able to pick off all of these creep tumors here so far. So a good few creep tumors taken down already. Going to see 22 Zerglings continue to come on in, and the left from Denver on the way up in the main base as well. What's up, everyone from the Loco stream? How you guys doing? Thank you so much for dropping by. Thank you, Loco, for the 2-year resub as well. Thank you so very much. Oh no, WardiBot's killing the Lennies. No, don't do it, WardiBot! Don't kill the Lennies! Oh no, WardiBot thinks it's a Hellion. He's got like so many Link kills. I think he's a Hellbat maybe, because look at this, Link kills in the game. A lot of them going down. Banshee's coming through, picking up a couple drones at the same time. In the end, the Queens will push this back, but it was a lot of Lings killed, and MarineLorD trades better than Denver does in this fight. With Banshee still alive into the main, and the lair is not sure for the Overseer, but Spawn not here, Queens on the low ground. Good movement with the Banshee to find opportunity to kill even more workers. Very nicely done. Good amount of workers picked off here, and that's really great damage as those are 5 drones killed. Banshee comes around the right-hand side, up the side as well. Bayonet's dropping down in the natural. A couple of creep tumors continue to push on forwards as the scan comes down, and this Banshee will just try and get rid of a few of these already. So I like it. Getting rid of some of the creeps always going to be a big positive, although misses that active tumor. Nice friendly fire trick. If you put the Hellion on top here, friendly fire it, the splash damage kills the creep tumor. Again, thank you so much, Loco, for the raid and for the 2-year resub. 2 years of joining the best StarCraft channel on Twitch after his own, obviously. Yeah, thank you so much and welcome everybody. This is the Katowice Afterparty. It's underwritten by myself and TakeTV. Joining us for the 3rd series of the day. And it's obviously getting off to a pretty fiery start, this one, with this Hellbat attack so far. Thank you so much, Roshi SC, also for the 11 months. Spamming those low Z's as well in the sub message. Love it. Thank you indeed. Hydroden dropping down from Denver, but it is that factory play we mentioned from MarineLorD, the opportunity to go mech here. He's got a 3rd CC ready to float down to the low ground, already getting the gases set up here as well. Just making sure that the double refinery is going to allow for, you know, the extra mech units to come out ASAP. The gas is so important when you're playing mech. The more of it you get, the better. And that's what we're seeing right now. Some Lings poised to maybe hit that 3rd base. There are Hellions nearby. Maybe we're going to see Denver just waiting until the Hellions move out in the map. He's got an Overlord here to watch them, right? So we can kind of keep an eye on that potentially happening. And as we do see, MarineLorD just added on a 4 so far. Still making Banshees as well. This is a very popular choice in TVZ when you go mech, the extra few Banshees, just to kind of really hold your own and to really defend against a couple of more aggressive openers that can come through, especially if there's some roaches that push across the map very early in as a response to you going mech. The Banshees can kind of hold on, especially while you build 4s, which are typically not the siege tanks you need against roaches, but you do need some 4s in case there's a Mutalisk play. So this is really just MLord's way of covering all of the possibilities so far in this TVZ. Getting this going. A few SCVs go down to those Lings. The Hellions there to clean up in the end, though. And the SCVs will get back to mining as a couple of refineries dropping down. And a few Banshees from MarineLorD coming all the way down the right-hand side and going to head through in towards the natural expansion. I mean, you're going to run straight into some Queens there, but 4 Banshees do a lot of damage. And actually, going to win that fight initially. First transfuse was missed. Next transfusions are good, and the Banshees will be forced to back away as Hellions caught by Zerglings. Good catch by Denver, shutting MarineLorD down. Pushing him back up to that high ground. Unfortunately, MarineLorD can't really do much more about that as the Lings will continue to corner that Hellion. Oh, but no Overseer here, so the Banshee is going to take advantage and going to pick off a bunch of Hydras. Now the Hydras will turn around to fight. Only 1 Banshee lost. Definitely worthwhile for the Hydralisks that were killed here. That was a lot of losses, in fairness. A lot of losses. 4s and Hellions continue to gather up between the natural and the 3rd base. A few Hellions morphing into Hellbats. Vikings sitting up in the skies, and the Banshees from MarineLorD back to the 3rd base, ready to be repaired. Lings are going to go floating across the map, though. Hydra's coming out as well. Not sure there's much opportunity to do much here. I mean, the Hive is on the way from Denver, and that is typically where you want to end up at. Get those Vipers out. A real way to start fighting that mech army without just sort of running into siege tank line after siege tank line. So Lingers and Hydras setting up in the center. Going to be seeing more of these Hydras getting ready to go. The 2 factories continue to set up, and a couple of medevacs just about halfway out at the moment. Overseer sets up on the top side. Some changelings pushing forwards as well. The siege tank might be able to... You can see he turned right away. He was like, I see that changelings, then they morphed into Marines. And he's like, am I seeing things? Gets told to attack them, and as he does, they all go down at once. Overseer's just setting up again, trying to keep as much vision as possible. I mean, the main part of this for MarineLorD is he's going to set up a 4th base in this forward position, very easily taken, because it isn't much different to holding the high ground between your natural and 3rd base. So you're going to take the 4th here, and then you're going to have a lot of pushing power down through the center of the map, while reinforcements will still cover the 4th, 3rd, and natural. So you're really free to just go attacking very easily here. As the Vikings coming over, going to find one Overseer, and that's really nice killing Overseers. And this Overseer might want to unsiege and get back home. The Vikings haven't found it yet, but if they do, that could hurt. That could really hurt. So really going to have to be cautious about this. There's a couple more Vipers coming out. 2 more Spires dropping down. The Hydra's chasing those Banshees away over to the right-hand side. One Banshee picked off already. MarineLorD all the way over to the right here. As we're going to be seeing those Lings, Hydras coming around, thinking about where they want to go to next, as MarineLorD still has those 2 Banshees. In a forward position, they're actually running out of cloaks. Even the fact there's no Overseer here doesn't matter. Yeah, a few Ling kills, nothing too meaningful. The Hydras going to get here as well. The Overseer's there. The Banshees are just about able to run away as MarineLorD makes that movement down to the low ground, ready to set up here defensively. And while waiting for the first attack of Denver, which now Viper's on the way out, is potentially going to come in before MarineLorD actually wants to fight himself. MarineLorD actually is closing in on being maxed out here, while Denver has some money in the bank but hasn't spent it all yet. So if MarineLorD wanted to push, now would be a good time. Which, I mean, yeah, you get forwards. The problem is, where do you push, right? There's so much creep spread in front of the bases that pushing down towards this 4th just feels like a suicide mission, because you're setting yourself up to be surrounded. I guess it's tough to be surrounded from the right side, but definitely from the left there's a lot of space there, depending on where the Hydras are first positioned. And even getting down there is going to be tough as well, because these Hydras should force MarineLorD to siege up a couple of times on his journey over. He'll scan and start cleaning up some of this creep. That's an indicator for these Lings to prepare some run-bys. This deeper wall raised though, planting fortress down the low ground units here as well. Yeah, those Lings are not actually going to do that much at all. Here we go, I'll tell you what, those Banelings are not morphed, and that might just be a real issue here for Denver. He'll continue to morph a few of them in, cancels most of them though. It's allowed MarineLorD to get really deep on creep here. Reinforcements keep coming across. The planetary fortress dealt with all of those Zerglings. Well, there's a few abducts initially. However, now Vikings showing up to shut down the Vipers. A Viper with flows of energy on it goes down as well. Vipers immediately starting to consume as Denver has that 5th base down to the bottom left side. The tanks starting to get towards the position where they're in range of the 4th base. And that could be a little bit costly. Another counterattack set up here, or just a surround. Ling's going to come swarming in. Vipers, only one landing cloud. Most of them getting shot down by the Vikings a bit too quickly. MarineLorD will be forced backwards here. That surround from all angles really nice, but it is going to be big that he killed the Vipers, because now they have to rebuild and get energy before there's Vipers for the next push, which means that attacking into this army now really doesn't make too much sense for Denver, because without Vipers, the tank siege is just a little bit too good. Okay, get a couple missile turrets, but that's really all you're looking for here. Even with these Banelings, there's enough Hellbats to soak up Baneling shots. Tanks will get rid of a few as they fly on in initially. As they fly on in, Banelings don't fly. If they could, that'd be incredible. I don't know if this is a good idea from Denver. He's going to go for this, but, I mean, what, you're going to blow up the planetary fortress with the Banes? Well, okay, you kill 5 SCVs in the planetary fortress, but it's a lot of your army supply that just goes missing. There's another base up here for MarineLorD, and I'm sure he's got, yeah, another command center ready to float out instantly. So, how much does killing that command center really matter? I don't think enough to justify 17 Banelings going off on it. For 5 SCVs and to, force the lost mining for what, like, not even 30 seconds, because the SCVs just instantly go up here. No, I don't really like it. And it feels like Denver's lost a lot that he didn't need to. The planetary fortress picks off this Hydra, which scouts out the 5th base. Denver will be expanding to the left-hand side now, but that is a base that's a little bit, I want to say, more exposed. It's going to be tougher for Denver to set up flanks on an army pushing the left side, but it is a bit more out of the way from where MarineLorD might be looking to push in general. Only 2 Hellions on this run-by, and yet they're still going to find at least 5 workers. If not a couple more, get 6. That'll be the end as the 2 Hydras do come in to respond. Tank's not really in position to defend this planetary fortress. This may be more of an issue, as we're going to be seeing him sieging up. And it looks like he's probably just going to plan on giving up this base almost. Hellbat's going to drop on top of the Hydras to gain Banes roll into the planetary though. I just wonder how worthwhile this is, because this entire army goes down to like 1 tank, Hellbats, and the fact he used the Banelings on the planetary. Well, this time he gets 17 SCVs, but now the Vipers come in with nothing to really back them up. Good splittaways on the parasitic bombs, and so Denver doesn't even really find that much damage here. And having to rebuild his Baneling count again, his Hydralisks again, that's going to be really painful. Zerglings go running into Blue Flame Hellbats. That's never going to end well for you, as the active creep tumors that have just been made, they're going to go down. This Queen will drop as well, and MarineLorD pressing forwards is already getting so much of this creep spread. Another scan to keep the push going. Starts to siege up some tanks now to get into that danger zone. Only a few Vipers left over, so the Viper's more of a threat now than before, though he goes for abducts rather than blinding clouds. So many of the tanks just reluctant to siege here, doesn't want to press in, doesn't want to siege them clumped up because he is afraid of potential blinding clouds. So MarineLorD will back away and just get another army going, as we're about to hit the 15-minute marker, and our longest game of the day well underway here now in King's Cove. Finally getting some of this juicy action in the TVZ between MarineLorD and Denver. +3 vehicle plane on the way up on the armory, +1 ship weapons getting started too. Couple of Hellbats, 7 Hydras all on the way out, and we are going to be seeing the Lings, Hydras, and Banes going to come around towards the upper right-hand side. +2 Carapace dropping down here from Denver, going to be seeing the +3 flyer attacks as well in the Greater Spire. More Corruptors on the way up. Just going to see that creep tumor dropping down here as well. 5 more Corruptors still coming in. As we see those Lings, Hydras, and Banes from Denver, well, they still want to keep applying this pressure. The thing is, though, again, I mean, the Corruptors, the Great Spire, the Broods are really essential here, because otherwise you're just stuck on mid-tier, mid-game tech. You really need more than that at this sort of stage to have success, as this little attack up here gets rid of 1 depot. The few Lings that do go up the high ground don't actually take advantage, which would have been running into the natural, maybe. Instead, they just run into a tank. They don't even get that kill. MarineLorD's still defending at home, but again, he is about to be up against Broodlords. With Corruptors coming out, ready to morph in, this is a completely different fight than what MarineLorD has had to take before now. And as we do see those Broods starting to morph into play. Just back down to the bottom right, Fusion Core building up. Extra starports on the way from MarineLorD as well. And we do see the Overlords just spread around the map. Hatchery coming in over on the right-hand side. Creep spread coming all the way towards the upper left as well. Some of it kind of grasping around the right. The creep is really getting out of hand here, actually. It's going to be really difficult for MarineLorD to get those pushes forwards without them being seen, without having to drop scans to clean up creep, without the creep advantage, that speed advantage being available for Denver. Moving into the center here, MarineLorD. A couple of tanks get rid of that Zergling in the center. Plus a couple more 4s on the way through as well. Fusion Core still coming in. MarineLorD will be able to get rid of a couple of these creep tumors already now on the left-hand side. So some creep spread being picked up. Vipers. And they come through for an abduct. A couple of abducts actually. Siege tanks getting brought straight into those Hydras there. +3 weapons on the evolution chamber. So that's coming through as well. 4 more Broodlords on the way up. And we are going to be seeing those couple of extra spine crawlers added on into play. So they're coming in over towards that bottom left-hand base. And we are going to be seeing tanks, 4s, Vikings, etc. getting set to go. And the Hydras, Lings, and a couple of Banes going after a 4 there on the top side. So they're able to get a little bit of a pick-off. Nice little something so far. And we do see the couple of command centers from MarineLorD still setting up as he looks to go beyond the 5 bases, which is what he's been able to stabilize on so far. And here come the Broodlords. This is where the Vikings really need to show up. 4s nowadays have a bit of a better time against Broods because of their range and the ability to actually hit them. They hit them pretty hard. And you see the Vikings just hanging back. The Viper is already out of energy here. The problem is the Broodlings will start to do a bit too much damage. The Hydras get underneath as well, and as the Hydras are underneath, the rest of this army here from Denver will just be able to press straight on through. I mean, already there's a couple of siege tanks getting taken down. The Hydra's giving chase. I mean, that's going to be a dead medevac here in a moment. It just manages to boost away. So this is starting to get to the point where MarineLorD's not really able to rebuild these armies. The Broodlords are no longer scared to push across the map because they've given themselves the opportunity to get across here. Now you've got Broodlords that you have to deal with. There's no kind of running around them, counter-attacking, any of the usual ways you'd usually try and deal with Broodlords. I mean, again, the 4 count that's coming up is nice and all, but Ling's streaming in because there isn't any Hellbats. It's only 4s that have been in production. There's going to be enough Broods left over, and this seems like a little bit too much from Denver in game number 1. Looks like he'll win out on King's Cove as the 4 face into heavy fire. In the end, the consistent trades from Denver were enough to keep MarineLorD at bay. They were good enough, and despite, again, a couple moments where I feel like killing the bases probably wasn't worthwhile, still able to make it work. I think the biggest part is just the size of the map has stopped MarineLorD counter-attacking and getting into amazing positions too quickly, which really a lot of the time is maybe what stops you being able to give up as many units as Denver did and kind of taking advantage of that superior economy. As the Broods, again, dropping in numbers, but there's just going to be so much flooding in behind this from Denver. He's got that bank, he's got the supply lead, and that's going to be... I always feel it's great, it's great to get a host, right? Obviously, a lot of the time after the host, your numbers drop and stuff like that. I always think it's really cool when, 20 minutes later or so, you're like, oh, who's still here? And then, 3 people are like, I am. It's like, well, cool, we were good enough to keep you guys. Let me know if you came in from the local stream as we kick off into this game number 2. To the top left-hand side, Gaming's MarineLorD is the blue Terran player up against the red Zerg Infinity Gaming's Denver. So kicking off into our second game of this series. Some live action for you guys this week, not replays, because for some reason we're still needing to ask if everything's a replay every single day of the week. Ay, ay, ay. When will it ever end? Probably never. Probably never. No, we are live, though. We are live. There you go. We have an exclamation mark live button. So if you ever are wondering if it's replays, if it's live, that's usually up to date. Sometimes we might be casting replays and it'll say live, and that's probably because the replays are from the same day, played while we were casting other matches of the tournament, and the results aren't known. I've started to count that as just being a live cast for now, because otherwise you're like, well, it's the replay, and people are like, replays, and they bugger off, and they don't actually realize that it's basically a live cast. So yeah, that's kind of what we do here. It's kind of what we do. We try and cast live as much as possible. Some formats we do some live matches, then replays at the end to help the players not have to stick around all night. But all of these matches tonight as live as local was earlier. As we have Wyman coming in from the local stream. Poison Rain saying what's up, Starlet Ninjas. Hello. I love it. Some kisses and hugs. That's how we roll. As we do see the early links here from Denver, 6 of them sneak out. SCV Scout means the Reaper will stay at home at least, but probably will still be a delay on the command center. With the Reaper only able to kill Lings so fast, I mean 6 Lings probably still can at least push that SCV off for a little while. Reaper coming around on the left. Again, a few Zerglings from Denver as well. Going to be coming up here as the Reaper just going to be sitting out the front. Looks as though Denver with the SCV Scout coming in decides not to commit in too hard and instead just going to work his way through these rocks already. Opening up one of the major pathways on the map that usually creates a very defensive position on this third. Although Terrans usually on the other side will use these rocks to set up tanks and so on and abuse the fact that they can shoot over there. Starport drops down and we do see just a single Hellion at the moment. A couple of Marines on the way out from the reactor. Interesting, as we see Lair from Denver. Okay, this is actually really good, I think, for MarineLorD, because if he's expecting this to be something like a Night Assault in, which it looks like it is, and the SCV scouts the Lair, building Marines instead of Hellions is a really good way to go about this. The single Hellion is way, double Marine production is way better than anything else. And with a tech lab on the factory already, yeah, he's going to have a lot of damage output against roaches coming out from Anidus compared to, say, if there was Hellion production here. Starport about to finish in the main. We'll see what actually comes from the Starport. Maybe a Viking could be a Liberator if he wants to go full-on defense mode. Obviously, a Liberator gives you that harassment potential across the map too, but it's very gas expensive if you're also building siege tanks. As Lings try to dive in, they don't find anything. It's just going to be a Viking for now, push back a couple of Overlords. And that can really limit where the Nidus network can be placed, of course. And so far, this really isn't looking pretty for Denver. This really isn't looking pretty for Denver at all. With the fact that this was scouted, MarineLorD setting up almost a perfect defense against it already. Such a fast siege tank. Again, as Viking's going to pop out, will come straight to the natural and pick away at this Overlord that he knows is on the high ground. Then he'll probably come across and look for this one over here too. By picking off this Overlord first, the Marines can jump on it too, kill it off that little bit faster, and get the Viking towards the next Overlord perhaps that little bit sooner as well. So it's just a few Marines forwards. And there we go, Overlord gets picked off. The supply depot will spot the Nidus network over in the main base, but Denver's actually supply blocked from losing this Overlord. Tank fire already very good. He is going to send the Viking straight after the Overlord as well. The Nidus network, one more shot from the tank. It goes down. 3 queens are out. Obviously, he can put another Nidus in here for these units that popped out, sure, but I mean, the tank fire is already pretty great. Some SCVs are going to pull in to help out as well. Viking will now land, and well, with more damage going out onto this Nidus network, I don't know. Yeah, there you go. You can just see it. It gets shut down almost instantly, and this went very wrong and very quickly for Denver here. Does not work out at all, as a couple tanks will unsiege, pull down to the low ground, and just get set up as a Viking from MarineLorD. Going to be pushing out onto the map Just go see if he can pick off anything else. The Reaper getting turned away from the third base as Denver will try some form of recovery here, but with the units lost early, I mean, look at that, resources lost 1,400 to 450. Only a few roaches went down because they weren't all committed into the other side, but the queens went down. Obviously, the third base is later than you'd like it to be as a Zerg player. There's just really such limited ways to get something done right now. As Denver, MarineLorD has all of the opportunities when it comes to follow-ups. Third CC already building. He's got a good tank count if he wants to be aggressive as well. So there are definitely options here. As we do see those couple of extra wrecks dropping down in the main base. And this Liberator from MarineLorD now will come in. And that's going to be a good form of harassment because there's no Spore Crawler. There's no Queen in the main base. This is going to get a couple of drones at least as well because Denver's just that little slow to respond. That's going to be 3 workers. And maybe even cancels a couple of the building roaches. So that's dead lava. It's money that's invested that doesn't actually come out. Yes, he gets a refund, but it's money that's invested for that little while that he doesn't spend elsewhere. Good start. As we do see Denver just struggling here. MarineLorD fighting back in this series. Looking to take this to a 1-1. Thank you so much, Captain Dig, on coming in with the Twitch Prime sub for 3 months. Thank you so much. Much appreciation. And Swerm coming in with the 8-month resub as well. Says, hey, Wardy, hope you're doing good. And thank you for all you do for the StarCraft 2 community. Thank you so much for the sub. Much appreciated. As you can see, Denver here is going to be setting up into a very aggressive attack. So we better talk about this. He's only building... Well, he's building a few more drones now. But he did build a lot of roaches, more so than he built before, and he's morphed in some ravagers, so he wants to attack, he wants to do something with this. He has roach speed, something he invested into because he had the lead to build the Nidus anyways. Couple corrosive vials, dropping down on the supply depot's Liberator. Be able to get sieged up here as well. Viking just going after the Overseer at the moment. The Overseer obviously not really going to do much other than die off. It's detection against maybe like a Cloak Banshee, I guess, but there's no Cloak Banshee. I mean, he kills a couple of supply depots. MarineLorD hits the supply box. So does Denver, though, because he lost the Overseer. I mean, this wall is open, but that doesn't matter so much when MarineLorD is just sitting defensively with 3 siege tanks. I mean, there's only 4 Ravagers, so he can't even corrosive bile a Liberator right away. He can corrosive bile 1 Liberator or 1 tank. That's all he can kill with 1 set of vials right now. So that's really, really tough for him. Third orbital MarineLorD flies down to the low ground. Denver's backing away anyways. You can see MarineLorD's got the 1-1 upgrade lead as well. I mean, again, MarineLorD just has every advantage in this game because of the way Denver opened. The defense from MarineLorD was absolutely pristine. Put him into a perfect spot. As the game ticks by, I mean, MarineLorD just sits ahead on workers, ahead on army. He just looks very, very good to continue through this game. As MarineLorD is going to send Marines and tanks out into the middle. Roaches and Ravagers pressing in from Denver. Marine's going to stem actually and go straight after a few Roaches. Couple Ravagers getting caught as well. Denver's just going to GG. He does not have the new repugnancy. Give me a quick moment. I want to give a thumbs up to that last song and build up some songs that we like on this platform that I'm using right now to produce the music. And as we get this underway, we have to the bottom left-hand side our red Zerg player. This is Denver. Up against the blue Terran in the top right, our O-Gaming Terran player, MarineLorD, with the soon-to-be scouted proxy barracks opening. This Overlord moving up to this top side and will go close enough to see the racks. I love this rack's building even further top left, so even if he sees these 2... Oh no! He turns the Overlord! Oh, Denver, he was about to fly in! He was going up here. He turns it to get towards the natural or the main base of the Terran faster. Oh no. That's actually kind of painful. That's a real shame. That's a real shame. Okay, well, we're going to see those racks finishing up in the next few moments. Oh, this is actually going to be a problem as we see this depot coming down from MarineLorD in the main. Going to see the orbital morphing in, of course. I mean, Denver just has no clue. He goes hatchery first. This is everything MarineLorD wants this to be, even with the Overlords not going straight across the map, so it's even longer until Denver realizes what's going on. He's got no Overlord over here to see what's happening either. This is turning into an absolute disaster. There's a couple more Marines just continuing to pop out, heading down to the natural expansion. I mean, MarineLorD is looking so good right here. Couple of Queens, 4 Zerglings on the way up, and here comes the first bunker right now. Denver obviously has the vision to see it. Maybe bunker number 2 already as well, as a couple of Marines showing up. I mean, 3 Marines now Drone's already going to start pulling. Doesn't build another bunker, doesn't have the minerals for it. Means he doesn't actually create a wall off to hide behind or a choke point for those Marines to work with. You can see those Lings maybe wanted to come in with the drones at the moment. There's a second bunker now. Marines are just going to kite away. There's just so many Marines, though. I don't think you can do this as Denver. Even if you get a surround here, the Marine damage is going to kill so many drones that it just isn't really worthwhile. And obviously, the bunker has come up here. He still has 2 SCVs alive, so he can finish bunker number 2 as well. He's repairing up that damaged SCV. As he will just come forwards and already pick his way through a little bit more. That Spine Crawler damage on that is obviously huge as Zerglings just run in to try and, well, support the Queens here. Marines into the first bunker, second bunker finishes. And even without a repair right now, this is problematic because the Spine Crawler will just go down. There's too many Marines firing on it. I don't think it's really going to be that much of a problem. As the Lings disappear again, you get the chance to just come in, kill that Spine before transfusions are available. This Queen goes down. That's a GG. MarineLorD will close out this series 2-1 with the proxy, 3 racks, unstouted. Let's introduce ourselves some players. To the bottom right-hand side, our blue Protoss player. This, from Infinity Gaming, Goblin. Top left-hand side, our red Terran is MarineLorD. He is 1-0 in this group, looking to go 2-0 with Clem left to play. Right now, it's still possible if Goblin beats MarineLorD, and Clem beats MarineLorD, and then Denver beats Clem, maybe? I'm trying to think. If Clem beats Denver, yes, so if Clem beats Denver and MarineLorD, and Goblin beats MarineLorD, there is a possibility for Goblin to still advance based on a 3-way tie. So there is still a lot to play for here from Goblin. Rather than, just because he's 0-2, he isn't out of this group just yet. He can still advance on a 3-way tie. He would probably have to win 2-0 here. He'd probably have to win 2-0, but it would kind of... There is still that realm of possibility. So let's see what he can do. A proxied pylon to start the game means probably a second gateway and some very quick aggression in the early stages. As we see that pylon finishing up, the gateway ready to drop down. Oh, a forge? Okay, a gateway, yes. A misclick there by Goblin. I was intrigued. Obviously, he wasn't interested in following through with his misclick and seeing where it might have taken him. It just doesn't make sense, obviously. So, second gateway, looking to apply some pressure with the Cybercore finishing. Some Stalkers getting out very quickly can obviously apply a lot of pressure very quickly. Zarkton saying, I like that you got the posters up in the studio. What's happening with the display case that should go in the corner? I'm just trying to find some shelves. I'm actually not going to get a display case. I'm going to buy some shelves and just get shelves running across that little area of the wall where the wall hang is, the Nova versus Kerrigan thing. I'm going to move the Nova Kerrigan to the other side and have the shelves displaying my StarCraft Collector's Edition, some of my StarCraft plushes, collectibles, that kind of stuff, just to give it more of a like StarCraft home feel rather than just like some posters, you know. I mean the Kerrigan Nova wall hang is awesome. But I do think the kind of the shelves with cool stuff on will add just even more to the stream. Just make it look even better, right? It's like, hey, look, we don't just have posters. We've got real actual StarCraft stuff. MarineLorD sees the lack of a Nexus, and that already tells him to start going in towards this bunker. And he does get it up. That's huge. Bunker on the high ground even saves the SCV. Stalker will try and dive past the bunker. I don't know if I like it, actually, because now the Reaper and the Marine can just hop out if they want to. I mean, or you can just wait for more units to come down. He's actually pulling SCVs to go fight that Stalker. Reaper and the Marine not going to pop out just yet. A little bit of micro here. Other Stalker coming forwards. Now it's going to be 2 Stalkers behind the kind of bunker. So the SCVs are going to commit. 1 Marine already killed. The thing is, Reaper is faster than a Stalker, so Stalkers can't kite a Reaper endlessly. But does need to be able to get the damage. Oh my god, the Stalkers are so low now as SCVs are looking for the final hits. And Widowmine on the high ground. Come on, Reaper. Can you not get out and kill these last couple of Stalkers? They are so low. Targets 1. The other one runs into Widowmine range just for a second. 4 SCVs now killed. Command Center still not finished. A Hellion building as well, as now the bunker's under fire. I mean, Marines see, okay, we're going to see SCVs again. I mean, you know those Stalkers are trapped, right? So that's a bop. Actually bobs the Stalker into an SCV surround. The other Marine going to get picked off again. The Hellion coming out now as well just knows that you're going to be able to keep on chasing those Stalkers down. This should be it. No more losses. Finish that command center. Stalkers go down. And yes, it feels like MarineLorD has taken a lot of damage. But remember how late this expansion is from Goblin. Very late. Yes, okay, the MarineLorD CC only just finished. But also Goblin lost a lot of his early game units. So if we look at resources lost, this is much more efficient for the Terran player, who, while behind a little bit on economy, sure, has traded better and will have a faster natural expansion to build up workers from as well. I'm not saying it's brilliant for MarineLorD, it definitely wasn't clean, but having killed the units makes a big difference to what we see a lot of the time. A lot of the time you see this sort of situation where you kind of build up, say, you know, the few Stalkers and you harass and you deal some damage, but then the Stalkers are still alive. The fact the Stalkers aren't alive anymore really changes a lot here. As you can see, a Stalker warping in, Viking will turn to fight it. I mean, Viking does pretty well against the Stalker alone. With the Zealot there, they have a different story, although he will go for the Stalker. Will get it now with the Reaper and the Hellion. This Viking will be able to clean up. So we've seen the pylon here getting picked away at. This warp gate is going to be set up on the low ground as we do see the Viking pulling away. SCV coming in. Going to repair that up a little bit. This was nice though. Great pick off of the Stalker and the Zealot. Just extra damage done by MarineLorD. Continue to push himself into a great position. Great micro, great decisions. And the pylon goes down, empowering that warp gate. Taking away, well, half of the production from the Protoss at the moment. He only has one powered warp gate. And with DTs coming out, if DTs have been able to warp in over here quickly, that would have really kind of sped up the process of getting that damage onto the map. Engineering base starts +1 attack, although no missile turrets yet. MarineLorD is not dropping mules. He's saving energy, looking like he's waiting to get missile turrets up before he mules again. So he's going to be prepared against the possibility of a Dark Templar follow-up. So MarineLorD's actually very well set right now. Despite the lack of a scout, he says, well, if I haven't scouted, let's play it safe. And again, with the missile turret finishing just as the DT arrives, that's a real frustrating moment. The SCVs pull away from that side of the mineral line very quickly. DT into the main, another missile turret starts to build. He has now dropped the mules because obviously he was expecting this to be, you know, scouting was available or detection available with the missile turrets. Has to drop the scan in the main base. Oh, Widowmine actually brings a lot of those workers low. 5 SCVs lost here. This DT over here still hanging around. DT is actually going to pick off the reactor on the starport. That is a frustration. That's annoying. Going to go for this Widowmine as well. He's coming into the main base. Next scan not available just yet. He's going to go for combat shields now. With a grenade to blast the DT away. This DT is deterred quite easily. Good extra damage by Goblin. I mean, combat shields is getting cancelled here, no doubt about it. Surprised SCVs aren't going to go and repair that reactor. Factory will lift up to go to the reactor from the factory. So Starport jumping on there. Medevac production will then be able to continue. It's just a little bit of a frustration right now, although the missile turret in place should be able to deter any further Dark Temple activity as long as there's units nearby. Reaper goes across the map. War Prism is hanging out over here as well. Just siege that up above the gateway to give it power just for a few moments to get a warp in. It's a cool little position for the Prism too. You might expect it to be just out of the main base over here or somewhere, but down over here, probably not where you're going to go checking with the Viking to try and find that. Again, the DT is still just in the main, just waiting for the opportunity to come forwards and to deal more damage. But the missile turrets do cover this production line now. And that's an observer that gets scanned but not killed. A frustrating moment there for MarineLorD, who still has only a 4-worker deficit, an army supply lead with +1 done, stim pack completed. Yes, combat shield was denied and has to be restarted here, but otherwise, I still like it for MarineLorD. The issue is, can he move across the map with these DTs still threatening damage? That's going to be the really difficult part of this. Can he go out on the map? Probably not, as this DT comes in, takes a couple of tank shots, and then backs away again. Marine is able to come in with the scan, just clean that out. I mean, it's worthwhile at the end of the day to drop that scan to finally give yourself the freedom to maybe move across. You do see tanks and sieging, so it looks like MarineLorD is thinking of pushing forwards right about now. Third nexus of Goblin on the way up in the meantime. Some Stalkers found here, not the biggest of blinks. Feels like that blink could have gone a bit further. As you can see, one more Stalker should die. Ooh, doesn't actually have the damage, although now some Stalkers on move command. Still blink to the low ground. And MarineLorD will continue his journey. Another DT up in towards the natural. Bio units already in position, but again, it will hit this side of the mineral line. So it's still got that frustrating position to take advantage of. DT in the main base shut down by the Widowmine behind the factory. That's good positioning. Fight starts up over here. Zealots are charging in already. +1 attack on the Protoss army rather than armor means the Zealots go down a bit faster than you might expect it to. Scan for the DT. It's one of the issues of not having a Raven. You're going to have to keep dropping scans when the DTs get brought in defensively. Goblin's very quick to move over to the bottom side, the main base, to defend against the medevacs coming in here. He's going to find himself, MarineLorD, just a single pylon so far. Difficult to justify lifting up right now because, well, the Stalks can blink underneath. Only gets a couple of bio units out of there as he boosts away. Goblin's still not in the best of economies, only a 5-worker lead. MarineLorD about to have a third CC to work with as well. The upgrades even, although MarineLorD late on the armory for +2 upgrades. I'm just going to be seeing still the DT just hanging in the back, another scan dropping. It's just this missile turret's placed so far back, it's so frustrating because it doesn't cover this whole entryway, and that's how the DTs just keep slipping in there. Nice catch on the warp prism though, takes away that potential extra warp hit in the main. And now MarineLorD with a bit of map control feels comfortable and maybe go and clean that gateway up and get in towards the third base. Missile turret actually kills the observer too, finally getting rid of that, which snuck out of a scan a little earlier on. Gateway going to get picked off, and we are going to be seeing the Zealots and the Immortals hanging into the bottom right side. Another Stalker added into play. Widowmine will burrow up, and the bio spreading out a little bit down the ramp. Dark Templar pressing forwards. Obviously no missile turret in this forward position. It's towards the third base, so missile turret here might not be too bad to just stop the DTs getting to the high ground. I actually love this. The wall off is actually going to try and stop DTs doing that. Sneaking behind that mineral line again. Nice catch as well. Sees the DT moving, and MarineLorD's able to pick up the kill. Liberator production underway. Definitely late on upgrades though. Goblin's starting to take the lead in the 2-2. So getting 2-2 up and running. Again, those couple of libs about to pop out of the main base. Factory goes towards a reactor as well. So reactor already coming down. Extra barracks being placed. And we do see the Stalkers pressing forwards. Again, the bio able to turn those Stalkers around pretty quickly. Zealots from Goblin hanging out, a couple of Mortals and Sentries. Prism into the natural expansion. A good amount of bio will have to go and stim to deal with this. And actually has a good amount of years to respond quickly though. Widowmine's going off on all the Zealots. That's huge for MarineLorD because the Zealots disappearing really opens up the opportunity to just finish off the rest of this army without the units that are there that are meant to tank. Oh, no concussive shells, maybe costing him the kill on an Immortal. We'll get the Immortal anyways. We'll go for the other one. To get rid of the Immortals here, there's no real tech units left over. The Sentries dropping down. The Stalkers can't handle their own. Zealots still going huge, 13 workers killed, but MarineLorD cleans out a huge amount of the army, and that's, I mean, everything that he killed was so important as well. Sentries are super gas expensive. Immortals are obviously one of the real tech units you're relying on here as the Protoss player. MarineLorD with some good play, although this is another nice CT coming in to harass again. So frustrating. You can see that MarineLorD started concussive shells after this attack as well, realizing the importance of that. And that he was missing on it. I love this too, Goblin. Showing those 4 Stalkers that did survive is the perfect number to one-shot an SCV, and he will pick up 5 kills in total in the last few moments, just keeping MarineLorD as low down on workers as possible, and keeps MarineLorD pinned back, dealing with this pressure, rather than pushing across the map and taking advantage of the fact that he just won that fight in a huge way. Goblin's economy still continues to be stronger, but he trades so much worse that MarineLorD's able to stay alive in the game so far. Now with 3 free upgrades on the way, that's going to be a 1-2 upgrade difference. 1 attack and 2 armor. That's the sort of difference that's going to be difficult for MarineLorD to recover from. He drops 1 scan here on that DT, another scan on the left side, so 2 DTs picked off. He needs to keep those scans with DTs, and that's why the income probably is so heavily favoring Goblin throughout this. Goblin is, never having a contest, even though he doesn't have as too much of a worker lead. He doesn't have the mules dropping down from MarineLorD because the DTs keep forcing the scans instead. Well, here comes the bio up this ramp straight into the third base. It's going to take quite a lot of damage. The Zealot running forwards here. Stalkers kind of blink into Widow Mines. I mean, eating the shots means the Zealots are kind of free to fight, but obviously Stalkers are difficult to replace. And they cost gas. Nexus will fall. It's only bio left. Maybe just time for MarineLorD to turn around, but actually he says, maybe I can fight this. Turns away as the Zealots charge in again. Just kiting. Another DT shows up. MarineLorD does not have to scan to drop here instantly to clean this up. There it is. Scan comes down. Gets a few of these probes as well. SCV's going down on the other side, but the warp prism now picked off. Good defense by MarineLorD back at home. Widowmine comes off cooldown over here. Should hit these Zealots. Will help a lot in cleaning this up. Only a little bit of bio left off as he kites away, but MarineLorD has the supply lead in his favor. And that supply lead should be enough right now, as we're going to be seeing MarineLorD with a few more units out of the natural. Robo Bay still on the way up here as well, so Goblin will have something of a follow-up here at some point. MarineLorD just reinforcing though, drops the scan, gets the DT, and there again just is not enough in this army to even, yeah, okay, you've got a huge upgrade lead, but that doesn't matter when there's just so much more army supply from MarineLorD, which is just going to jump on this. If this was maybe some more Zealots, you can be like, oh, well, they're never going to die because there's just no way to break through them, but And it's not the case at all. Those Immortals can get targeted. The Sentry Force Field a little late to the party. I mean, in fact, just don't come down at all, even though he does have 2 sentries here. Microing as best he can as the Warp Prism tries to do its job. This Immortal will go down. Sentry picked off. Stalker's forced up to the high ground. More probes are dropping. And we see MarineLorD coming straight through into the natural. Pylon killed off here. Zealots are going to warp in. I mean, again, all MarineLorD has to do is keep trading, bringing units across the map, reinforcing this, scanning for the DTs, and he's going to be able to shut this down, right? I mean, Zealot after Zealot dropping. The Stalkers are opened up to attack once again. A Colossus does show up. I think MarineLorD makes the very mature decision of not diving further into the natural towards reinforcements and instead just jumping towards this side. He's going to be able to get a few probe kills here. Liberator showing up. Haven't seen much of this Liberator. It's got 0 kills, so that's probably why. We'll see jump down and get a few. There's only a couple Stalkers that will be able to pick it off, but I mean, it's still able to get some kills as well. It's a full army cleanup from Goblin, but then the reinforcements show up, and again, one Colossus will not turn this game around. That Colossus' money that wasn't spelled to spend on other units as well. There's the GG, and MarineLorD will find game number 1 of this best of 3, going up 1-0. MarineLorD, we have down to the bottom right-hand side, the Blue Protoss player. This is Goblin. Up against the Red Terran to the top left-hand side, we have got MarineLorD. Okay, so game number 2 getting this start as Goblin will be dropping the pylon here over to the left. Just dropping this pylon down, getting this underway, and seeing just how things will get started. Gateway is going to drop down here as well. Obviously, it's just the same as the last game so far. That proxy pylon into second gate. We'll see if MarineLorD will have a similar defense as he did last time. It was obviously this SCV scout that was very critical towards that. Able to see the lack of a nexus. Able to respond very quickly with that bunker. And while he did lose SCVs, he was able to kill the Stalkers. Once the Stalkers were in, yes, it was a problem, but they weren't getting out, and that was the issue. And killing those Stalkers really led to the rest of the game, MarineLorD having that little bit of an army edge initially. And that did go a long way, despite the DT harassment, etc., everything else that happened. I feel like if those Stalkers get out alive, MarineLorD maybe dies to a follow-up after the DTs or so. That didn't quite happen as we go into this game number 2 right now. SCV sees the Zealot already coming and the lack of a nexus, so he's already seen what he needs to see to begin responding here. Bunker starts immediately. Reaper will come out, sees the probe pushing forwards. Is actually just going to go straight towards the Zealot, it looked like. Now pulls back to go for the probe, which is trying to get up to the into the natural. Going to try and delay this bunker coming up. Reaper and a Marine to kill that here. Zealot and the Stalker about to arrive. Obviously, second SCV on the low ground should be able to finish this bunker if needed. The first Marine is going to be able to jump in, and that SCV will go down. So 2 SCVs killed. Zealot will be picked off, and the Stalker won't go diving by it just yet. As the SCV from MarineLorD coming down here, going to start building. And we do have the couple Stalkers from Goblin going to go poking at the front. But I mean, 2 Marines and a Reaper in the bunker from the start this time. It's a bit more, so already the first Stalker taking quite a bit of damage. MarineLorD just brings 1 more SCV to the low ground. This time he's very fast on this Widow Mine as well to kind of stop further Stalkers coming through. By putting that Widow Mine at the front, he could stop further Stalkers, aiding the Stalkers that are already here in the natural. Because then you've got to run through this Widow Mine to get here. That's obviously very painful. Oh, that's going to be... Oh, that was very narrowly. Oh, that was... This was kind of sick and kind of interesting. So the Stalkers in the end decide to back away. So the Stalkers in the end decide to back away. The bunker, getting a couple of them low. The Stalkers out alive is nice, but I think it's overall a good defense from MarineLorD. Doesn't have to cancel the expansion still. And he didn't lose as many probes as last game. Yes, he didn't kill the Stalkers this time. But again, obviously, he has less losses too, and there's not much now these Stalkers can do because, well, the Widow Mine's cover in the front makes it a really bad trade if you press in and try to do anything else, with Bunker obviously cover in the front as well. As you see the starport just about halfway done, Refinery finishing up in the main base, and that gateway now morphing into a warp gate out in the middle of the map. What's up, Zombie Grip? How you doing? Thank you for the 30 months of subscribing. Force you to play Apex sometime, sure thing. I haven't been playing much lately, actually. I've been kind of busy. But, we can with some Apex sometime. Never mind. Gets a Stalker kill. Bunker softening those Stalkers up throughout the game as well. I love this. Rotates this Widow Mine back while it comes off cooldown. The other Widow Mine taking its place. Behind this time from Goblin, Twilight Council is for Resonating Glaives. That generally means a very aggressive follow-up. He's already warping in sentries to force field repairs from the bunker. Now, in this sort of situation, a wall-off across the front would be really good to stop the Adept shading in, but how do you set up a wall-off when, obviously, these Stalkers are just stopping you? SCVs, for some reason, were going out the front, but I think they just meant to go to the natural mineral line. Stalker's still sat here. Again, there's all of those extra gates. It's definitely looking like an all-in. There's MarineLorD, only the one bunker to really defend this. Obviously, the tank is nice, but if the Adept shade on top of the tank, it doesn't matter much. You could keep a tank on the high ground. That would be a big factor. Tank up here, obviously there's no Warp Prism to jump those Adepts on top, so as long as you have these depots raised, that tank is somewhat untouchable. In fact, high ground vision in general is going to be tough to find. There is no robo facility, right? Yes, there's no Warp Prism potential. Yeah, I feel like a tank on the high ground would be great, but at the moment, the next tank already rallied to go down to the low ground. That's obviously not as pretty. Wouldn't mind repositioning itself up to the main base as well. He's really expecting something like a Warp Prism to come out here. The siege tank needs to be real cautious. MarineLorD actually in a little bit of a supply block, as across the map the Reaper picks off a couple of probes. Wall off here will stop him from being able to scout the fact that there's a Twilight Council. And stop him from scouting all these gates as well. When he did poke into the natural just now, he did go far enough in to perhaps see the lack of gases, maybe? It's actually hard to say, because he obviously had some vision there before the gateway was down. Another racks coming into the main. These units from Goblin just hanging out the front of the natural. Extra barracks dropping in. Here we go. The Adept's going to shade. This is where MarineLorD starts to realize just what's going on here. SCVs coming in to join. Widowmine's going to go off into the center of those Adepts. That's a real nice Widowmine. Do the SCVs go and try to repair anything? Siege tank's in some trouble now, especially because of the fact the Adepts are in a position where they can't actually be hit by the tanks. Good repair on the other tank, though. I'm surprised the bunker doesn't get repaired. This Liberator can turn around now, too. This is 13 SCVs killed. Another couple of probes went down across the map. The Depth's going to try and shade it again, but now the tank does come to the high ground a little bit more. It actually gets blocked out by the depots raising. There we go. Tank to the high ground. And I think the tank on the high ground really just shuts down any sort of potential to kill this because there's no high ground vision. And so as Goblin gets ready to try this again, this isn't really looking good. Here we go. The Adept's going to shade on forwards. The depot doesn't come down in time to create a wall off. That's a little bit annoying, a little bit frustrating, but I don't think it's the end of the world. The tanks will do a lot of damage here. There's Marines in the bunker to help out as well. Okay, Adepts on the high ground actually are going to be able to kill this siege tank because they're up on the ramp. Oh, just doesn't get it in time though. A couple of mules over here going to end up dropping down. MarineLorD takes even more damage, but this time it was mostly Marines rather than SCVs. Only 2 workers lost this time from MarineLorD. And he's maintaining an 8-worker advantage, which means that he's just producing so much more than Goblin. Starts up combat shields too, so he doesn't have to stim those Marines. Marines, when they stim, actually lose the health, so the Adepts will then 2-shot them. Usually Adepts need +1 attack to 2-shot a Marine, but if it's stim, it will then get 2-shot, which is obviously a bit of an issue. As these Adepts going to get to the high ground, and these attacks are becoming more of a problem. But this Widowmine here is scary. I mean, this Widowmine's going to go off, and that's a dead Adept. The last couple of Adepts are kind of low already. It's getting a little scrappy here. Some more SCVs, but still probes going down. Liberator finding some damage and consistently forcing probes to relocate. That's going to be at least a couple probes here before Goblin reacts. That'll be it for the moment. The probe's now not pulling around. The Stalker will reposition, though. Does not reach the Liberator. I feel like it might still just be able to tuck a little bit further forwards. Another Adept getting picked off. You see the Adepts coming through, and we are going to be seeing again the Marines coming forwards as well to shut this down. That's GG. MarineLorD's going to take the 2-0 against Goblin. Nicely done. Question in the chat, based on MarineLorD's position, it looked like he knew it wasn't Blink. I don't know if that's true, because he did have a Viking over here, and he had a Widowmine here. And then obviously there was a lot of focus on the low ground. So I don't know if he didn't think it was Blink, but I think he felt it was unlikely. Because he did see Adepts off of a Stalker-based opening. So if you're going to go Blink, why would you build Adepts back at home? Right? Every Stalker is going to be what you want to build. But even on top of that, I feel like he was still positioned okay. Yeah, I still think he was kind of positioned alright. Based on, you know, the Viking over here would have given him a bit of a pre-warning. A Widowmine here, and then Marines are here to push up very quickly. It's not a very easy map to blink in on and abuse, I think. Up and running after a couple weeks of casting in other streams. Let's go into this series, though. Game number 1 to the top left-hand side, our Blue Terran from O Gaming. We've got ourselves a MarineLorD. 2-0 in the group at the moment. All 3 players have taken down Goblin, so it really comes down to the next couple of matches to determine who will advance through to Saturday's playoffs. As we do have to the bottom right, our red Terran player. This is Clem. Alright, so kicking off into this TVT, we'll see SCV going to pop out and throw down a barracks. And we're going to be seeing the racks opening up from Clem on the other side as well. He's a little bit later on his gas. He goes racks gas rather than gas racks. So MarineLorD will have that first gas faster. And as we hit 17 supply, we're about to see if players will be taking second gases. Looks as though MarineLorD will not be. Clem might be, I feel. Well, looks like he will not. Okay, so 1 gas apiece. Both will open with a Reaper expansion here on Kairos Junction. Interesting because Kairos does have this low ground area into the natural, and I always bring this up because it's a real determining factor in how you choose your builds. But fast expand is usually punished by these lack of ramps into the natural because you don't have any advantage holding your natural off. I guess you kind of do because you can hold this ramp here, but sometimes you'll see players loop around and then come in from this direction to gain the high ground advantage and to just take down your units, which should be lower in number if you expand and your opponent goes aggressive with 2 gases. And that's why I find it strange that both players are comfortable opting for the Reaper expand rather than going for like a double gas expansion where you can still expand pretty quick. You're just a little bit safer with that faster factory against potential attacks from opponents, but not the case here. Both players feeling good, and obviously this just accelerates us in towards a 1-1-1 setup more or less, where players are not really under too much stress to apply early game pressure. Very, very confident from MarineLorD, by the way. Factory and a reactor. If he was being 2 racks Reapered or anything like that right now, he'd be in trouble. But he does SCV scout, which means he can build that reactor with confidence. Clem sees the racks at home too, so I'm surprised he doesn't go for the, for that kind of follow-up, which would allow for something else. Ooh, Clem messed them up in micro just a little bit there. Takes quite a bit of damage, that SCV. Trying to get the Reaper shot. In the end, Clem's Reaper stays alive, and MarineLorD will back up the right-hand side, as you will see Clem dropping down a bunker in the front of this natural. That command center here finishing up in the next few moments, probably. Reaper from MarineLorD continues to the upper left-hand side. Going to be seeing the starport on the way down. Command center is finishing shortly. Again, Clem was just a little later, a couple of seconds on his factory. And he is obviously a bit late from the reactor too. He's going to opt for the single Hellion. MarineLorD going to reactor his Hellions as he goes into the starport, so we'll have a bit more ground control early. We'll see what Clem goes for. Oftentimes you'll maybe see a Tech Lab and a Cyclone here. The starport coming up already. They do have to see that Hellion first, otherwise you just can't quite afford it. Barracks building a Tech Lab from MarineLorD, who does just actually reactor 2 Hellions and then makes way for the racks onto the reactor, and the factory goes onto the Tech Lab that was just recently built. And that's a Cyclone building up there right away. Tech Lab on the starport, a very popular choice because, well, those Ravens really do dominate the TVT matchup as of late. 2 Hellions here, the Reaper drops up for high ground vision. Still not really worthwhile committed into, and well, you couldn't really find a fight, so backs away. Cyclone on the way up, and again we're just really moving into towards that 1-1-1 mid game now, where players can make the decisions, play how they want to, no real stress of early game attacks, and we'll probably at least see no stress up until the point where third ZCs are down, and we probably, okay, well, Clem actually opts for 2 more barracks. I feel like very commonly from this position though, of this 1-1-1, the way you've set up so far, it's very traditional just to throw down a third CC. MarineLorD even going to do it in position because he feels like he has the map control. Which he probably does, but he hasn't got anything at home currently to defend this Reaper Hellion. 2 Hellions, a Reaper and a Cyclone. Can't do much of the front either because Clem invested into the bunker. That's a very worthwhile bunker because it actually gives him the freedom to push these units on the map while being safe at home. And he's found 4 workers from this, so nice little play by Clem. That is going to be 5 workers killed. MarineLorD will drop a little bit in this early game, but does have that faster third base building in location. And that's great and all, but Clem also has the extra barracks, right? So he will go into a faster setup of attacks for himself. The ability to start up Sim already, he's going to have a lot more bio units. For Clem, this is going to be a lot less kind of positionally focused, and it's going to be a lot more sort of let's go on the map and attack. Whereas MarineLorD's going to have to position his tanks perfectly, use the Raven to help defend, and set him into some very good positions to make sure Clem doesn't overrun him, and to make sure you can keep that third base alive. Couple shoutouts, by the way. Sorry, I missed this one during that last series. Got a little bit carried away. The Witch King 138 comes in for 2-month resub. Says lunch and a WardiCast. I'm stoked. Hopefully your lunch is still going on so you can get your shoutout, dude. Sorry for that. Just a little bit carried away with that craziness that happened back in that last series. Thank you so much for the 2 months. Great to see you coming back. Thank you, and thank you again. Two Cyclones and a Hellion from MarineLorD popping up the high ground. We're going to be seeing the Raven just patrolling away on the natural. Engineering Base +1 upgrade coming in as well. We do see that Starport's actually going to swap to the reactor, so MarineLorD's still kind of focusing on the tech here rather than anything else, and going in towards a bunch of Vikings now. Taking his third and fourth gas, but that isn't always indicative of mech in TVT, because look how much gas he's spending. 150 gas every time these Vikings build, 125 on the factory, plus he's starting stim. You know, he's going to want to think about extra racks. He'll want combat shields at some point, want upgrades. It's a lot of gas output, so going up to 4 gases before extra production, even if it's bio, is definitely not unheard of here in this series. We do see those 2 medevacs. They are going to go heading across towards the upper left side. The Cyclone is actually running backwards. Never seen that before. There we go. Turns back around now. Locks on towards their medevacs. Gets them low, which might just be enough to scare them from attacking in, especially with the Vikings here, and the fact he knows where those medevacs roughly are. I don't think Clem can justify attacking anymore, so he loses one of his potential attacks. It's a good slowdown from MarineLorD, and that might actually just save him from some of the potential pressure from coming through. What's up, Merhem, coming in for the 2-month resub as well. Another 2 months right there. Thank you so much. Continuing your subscription, and appreciate it. Thank you, indeed. There's the stim again, about halfway done right now. Marines, medevacs, tanks, and a Raven out into the top side. Pushing across here at the moment, looking to see what's going to happen. Tank shot is good to pick up a few of those Marines. So a few Marines taking a lot of damage right away. Tanks continue to siege up. Vikings and Ravens coming up to the top side. And again, this army of Clem, a couple of tanks going to siege. Starting to push in towards this orbital command already. Down on the bottom side, this command center also taking some hits. Ravens, well, target down pretty quick, but do get a couple of order turrets off. Do get the anti-armor missile into play as well. Vikings holding the forward position give you that vision as MarineLorD, and it gives you the chance to push the medevacs away. I don't think Clem can attack in, and the issue is he's now 14 workers behind, hasn't found damage, hasn't made use of the advantage he has with the faster barracks, and that means that MarineLorD's risks have definitely paid off for him. Clem still does have a bit of army to be mobile with, but as the armor supplies equal up, MarineLorD should be able to rotate around and defend these attacks very easily. And I mean, look at this already. 2 Cyclones from MarineLorD setting up in position to turn those medevacs away. Tank firing already. Vikings coming in. This is the issue. The Vikings especially are just going to shut down those medevacs. So every attack from Clem is so costly already. Going to attempt to drop in on top of the tanks over here. This is actually surprisingly successful. Kills one tank very easily. Now the Liberators and Vikings coming over. That tank chased away and actually will survive. Liberators sieging up though. And with the order turret dropping down too, I think these tanks just died. Does this one go down as well? It does. It's painful. SCV is dropping in the natural, but eventually MarineLorD's tanks turn into away. It's damage from Clem. It's 11 SCVs found. But I just still feel like MarineLorD's army is kind of continuing to get better and better, and Clem is losing tanks and so on. And that means he's getting to this point where MarineLorD's on a better tank count. MarineLorD's going to have the Vikings still in the skies. He still has a Raven as well to add in a couple of bits and pieces here and there, whether it's an anti-armor missile, an interference matrix. Maybe you drop down that, whether you drop down the anti-armor missile, interference matrix. You could also go for the auto turret, which we've seen a couple of times. I couldn't remember the ability there. The auto turret we saw just over here trying to help push back a tank as well. So as Clem drops in towards the main, Vikings and Liberator are a little slow to defend. Not there to shut down the medevacs at least. Now the Liberators are sieging up. Things can just pull back away from that. Marines in the mineral line. So Clem is slowly kind of finding himself an advantage. He's going to take this as a chance to move forwards up this ramp. He has 1-1 upgrades against no 1-1 at the moment. This is turning into Marine tanks versus no tanks. Great split on a single Marine. Minimizes the damage from that siege tank. Clem does a lot of damage once again, trying to get a sensor tower on his way out. Will commit the Marines for it. It's 100 gas that MarineLorD will have to reinvest because he wants to know where those attacks are coming from. Clem doesn't have to spend that money yet because he is the aggressor in the game. Liberator sieging up, time for those tanks to unsiege the Viking. Oh, did you see that? The medevac saves the tank, drops it instantly, knowing the Vikings were going to kill it, and it actually does save the siege tank from the Liberators, and it gets out of the medevac, which gets killed as well. That was a sick little moment there, as Clem continues to gather back into the center of the map and gets ready to push towards the top side of the map once again. 2-2 upgrades coming in from Clem right now, so getting them 2-2 lined up. Liberator of MarineLorD coming around the top right-hand side, looking to harass more so than kind of take a fight. This Marine will not quite find that, so Liberator will set up, although is that in range of the SCV? It's like right on the edge. It's not the best position to set up in. We'll actually unsiege and locate elsewhere. MarineLorD, his 4th base is done already compared to Clem's, which is building. So he can land that down. Couple worker lead here from MarineLorD. The army supply once again in his favor, and that is the issue from Clem. He has lost a lot of army while fighting here. Definitely worse fights. You can see that in the resource loss tab. And obviously MarineLorD had a huge income advantage for a while, which means that overall MarineLorD comes out with that little bit of a lead. And it's again the little things like a faster 4th base that really make that apparent. Great split on a single Marine. Well, I meant like he split a single Marine away from the rest so it would take the siege tank shot. That's what I meant there. Didn't mean that he split one Marine in half. That would have been brutal. But yeah, it was pretty sick. He ran in towards like tanks and he was split the one Marine away to soak the next tank shot. It was really sick. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to really give him an advantage because now you can see MarineLorD with the interference matrices on the tank is just going to overrun this. All the tanks shut down. A lot of the medevacs dropped as well. And MarineLorD's army supply gets larger and larger. The 2-2 upgrades are, well in the lead for Clem. The 1-1 from MarineLorD is obviously not great. I mean, the 2-2 is nice, but it's just not going to matter when MarineLorD has so much more. Again, those Vikings killing medevacs in the sky is huge as well. It takes away a lot of the healing advantage that you've set up for his Clem. And it's kind of too late to build Vikings of your own, because how are you ever going to catch up? It's going to require an investment of, I'm going to stop building medevacs, I'm going to start up extra starports. I think in that timing frame, or that timing window where you're doing that, MarineLorD just overruns you and just like completely runs away from the game. Liberator can be used to push back a couple of these tanks here now, and that's the power of having the air control. Although the tank's on siege, this Liberator will actually just get shot down. MarineLorD not going to be able to push in just yet, but I mean, he should just build more Liberators because, let's be real here, he still holds a huge air advantage, and so he should be able to push down those siege tanks without any losses. So let's see another couple of tanks setting up again. Marines are going to step in. One tank getting picked off, the sensor tower taken down as well. And this is MarineLorD continuing to press forwards here. Pushing straight in towards this 3rd base. And the medevac getting picked off, and again MarineLorD just continuing to pressure. Remember, he doesn't have those 2-2 upgrades, so he might be a bit reluctant to kind of jump into a larger fight, especially one that he has to bring his tanks into. This is a bit different, where obviously Clem pushes into the tanks of his opponent. Interference Matrix drops down on the first tank, the siege, which is wonderful. Gets the maximum out of that, making sure it's really not part of the fight for as long as it can be. And that's going to be all those tanks cleaned up again as MarineLorD winning fight after fight. 5th base coming in back up at home as well. As soon as Clem lost the map control and lost the ability to keep on pressuring, MarineLorD's push has just looked absolutely unstoppable, and Clem has not been able to re-establish a confidence or any sort of position on the map again. Another few Marines stemming forwards. At this point, MarineLorD has enough to fight into a tank or two of fire, and he will just take down medevacs, tanks, and Marines alike. MarineLorD taking game number 1 of this best of 3. And Clem will hand side down a map. We have got the red Terran player. Let's hear it if you're cheering on Clem. Up against the blue Terran to the top left-hand side from O Gaming, we've got MarineLorD. Game 2 of the best of 3. Setting this up and seeing where we go with this as we do get underway. TVT was a good example of TVT. Players take 2 very different paths in terms of how they set up in the game. Extra racks versus committing more heavily to a 3rd CC and a 1-1-1 build order. And I think MarineLorD really showed us the power of how you can still defend despite your opponent having that extra mobility, etc. And Clem did a really good job of showing us just how much map control he gained from this, just how much he was able to move around the map, that kind of stuff. I think he really put on a very good example of what you can kind of expect from this kind of setup, and it was everything I expected it to be. It can really go either way, those builds as well. Like, if Clem gets a little bit of momentum and he keeps up being everywhere, suddenly MarineLorD will start falling apart so quickly. So it really was a very impressive defense from MarineLorD to make it look so powerful for himself, moving through the early game into the mid game in a comfortable position. And again, now MarineLorD 1 map away from guaranteeing themselves first place in this group. And then Clem and Denver will fight it out to see who will go through in 2nd place, because that's our final series coming up after this matchup, of course. So that's coming in. Make sure you look forward to that. SCV is going to start heading back home. SCV of Clem coming out as well, out from this main base. Command Center dropping down from MarineLorD in the natural, and just going to be going into the into all the rest of this now, as we see the Reaper popping out from Clem. This time it's a little bit different. Clem does open double gas, and it does look like it's going to be a double gas expand. I find it a bit surprising, just because again this expansion is easier to hold with this ramp compared to Katowice Junction. So I find it surprising that Clem does decide to go into what is a slightly faster Hellion, but without extra workers or all the workers on gas, he is still looking to have the minerals to expand here. Typically, this gives MarineLorD a little bit of an advantage as we see the Reaper fight. It's pretty close. MarineLorD gets to the high ground, but will have to stop building his command center in a moment. That is going to be a bit of a delay, so that's nice from Clem. This Clem doing something here early game before the tides are even turning, before differences are made, that could actually really make up for his later command center. So this is helping him out a good little bit. So it actually will perhaps nullify even what I was just about to talk about, which is just the power of, you know, MarineLorD's position where he generally has the same amount to defend with. Obviously, if you mess up the micro, though, you're not going to have the same amount to defend with, and then you walk into a couple more problems. As the two Reapers continue to pick their way through the natural expansion. The Hellions about to pop out. And two Hellions and a Reaper coming down to the low ground. Against two Reapers and a Hellion, I mean, it's interesting because the Reapers actually do so much damage. And the Hellions end up winning this fight, and it's two Reapers killed off for one Hellion. It's again a bit of back and forth. MarineLorD going to build two more Hellions this time around as he goes into the tech lab on the barracks and the tech lab on the starport. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see that Raven on the way out. And then maybe after two more Hellions just securing his position on the map, making sure no further attacks will come through. Maybe then he can focus up on getting this factory onto a tech lab for tanks and barracks onto the reactor for Marines. Or, no, he is going to do that, okay. That makes sense. I mean, it just gives you a lot of units to work with early game. And it opens up aggressive attacks. He actually even builds a Cyclone, so he's really a bit unsure about his map control here. But it does generally open up attack possibilities as well, with the Raven and Interference Matrix able to push into positions on the natural, perhaps. Second Cyclone was started from Clem, but he decides to cancel off the Siege Tank instead. Definitely a better setup for being able to defend. And a nice Reaper Grenade attempt from MarineLorD. Unfortunately, doesn't quite do the job of popping the Cyclone back and out of range of the Hellions. His Reaper will die as well. Hellions just that little bit faster. MarineLorD's Hellions will get away. Again, once you're up on that high ground, he's got enough to defend with. And he does build a second Cyclone, so he really wants to be back out on the map and active on the map control. Might be that he's hoping to do the same as what we just saw in game number 1. And the two Cyclones in that case go a huge distance, a long way towards helping out in that case. Because when you've got two Cyclones, you can shut down medevacs a bit more easily. You have that mobility added into the army and an extra bit of defense to allow you to play the 1-1-1 without the racks for that little bit longer. This time Clem, though, with the kills early, he says, okay, drop my third CC in position. I've got the map control. Nothing should really come across to deny this. And that's obviously something that's pretty nice for him. If MarineLorD takes a third right now, you generally imagine it coming up like here. Okay, it's not a huge distance to float down to the low ground. There is a bit of a distance. So you do see the Raven coming up. That's going to be finishing in a few moments. Oh, what a moment from MarineLorD. Pushes forward and kills everything bar one Reaper. But there's the lock on and he's got it. He kills everything as Clem's not paying attention. It's a lot of army supply lost, and now I want to say there's some potential to push forwards, but two siege tanks, if those are sieged up, there's no way Cyclones are able to get far enough forwards. Matrix available, though. The Marines as well just make it way too difficult to truly kind of do what you want to do here. He's going to drop it and try and lock onto the tank. Drops all the turrets as well. All the turret comes down from his opponent to help fight it. It's a siege tank for the Cyclone. Ooh, now he kills the Raven. That would have been really nice. That would have been a really big pick-off. I mean, a Cyclone is less effective than a tank as the game goes on, so at the end of the day, I think it's an alright trade, especially with the chance of picking off that Raven. If that happened, that would have been a huge pickup. Deny further energy and further abilities from it. Yes, please, any day of the week, I'll take that. As you see the Marines, tank, Hellion, Cyclone all pushing through the center. The two Ravens hanging out overhead, a few Marines from Clem. Starting to come over to the left, the Raven heading out as well. We do see tank actually take some damage. MarineLorD's going to be in range of the third base with that high ground. Now, he doesn't have a lot to play with, but he's got a Cyclone and a few Marines to back up his tank, so, you know, he'll take it for the moment. I think the biggest threat is a Raven Interference Matrix, and he just pushes, you know, Clem pushes his own tanks into position here to take that down. You've seen MarineLorD has his own Interference Matrices available as well, though. Another tank and a few more Marines down to the center. Some Vikings showing up as well. You see here this army of Clem trying to get in position over the side. Auto turrets maybe. Interference Matrix going to drop on the two Ravens. Well, the issue is that only means you can't really take part in this fight for a little while. Another tank going to siege up, and MarineLorD, I really feel, is fighting a losing battle out on the map. I mean, he's going to lose these Great Ravens as well, because the Vikings are chasing him down. He's going to GG out. He knows that's a bit too much damage taken. Clem is going to tie this series, jump into this, and continue with our games here. Game 3 of our 5th series. 1 series remains after this, Clem versus Denver. For now, though, to the top left, our Red Terran is Clem, who could go 2-0 in this group with a win here against the Blue Terran. Bottom right, MarineLorD. If he wins this map, he finishes first place guaranteed. And it makes Denver and Clem end up fighting for second place. Again, playoffs for this going to be on Saturday. So if you'd like to check that out, and if you want to know when these guys are playing next, Saturday is the day. Earlier on in the day, though, we're going to be starting at midday CET. I'm busy in the evening. I'm flying out 6 a.m. the next day, so I kind of don't want to cast in the evening, so we've just moved the broadcast to the daytime. So that's what's happening on Saturday. What's up, Shy Guy SC with the 5-month sub, 3 of them in a row, saying hello, 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 how you doing? Thank you so much for the 5 months in total. Much appreciated. Thank you for continuing your subscription here on the WardiTV channel. Really do appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Orbital coming down on each side of the map here from Clem. Reaper coming in from each player as well. Factory drops in from Clem in the main base. So, again, just going to be that fast expansion from MarineLorD. I feel at this point this is very abusable, right? He's done this every single game. It becomes very predictable. And if Clem knows that, then, well, maybe he just does something to kind of punish it. Port Alexander is the same as Kairos in the sense that there is 2 ramps into the natural, so there is that potential of maybe diving around with units on the other side to where the units are from the defending player, and try and take away that high ground advantage and overrunning. As we are going to be seeing the Reaper from MarineLorD heading in towards the upper left-hand side, and the Reaper of Clem popping out, coming across the map. Factory drops in, Hellion on the way out from the starport. Not going to follow up just yet because he is going to expand instead. Again, only 2 works on each of those gases, so it's a safer expansion from Clem, but does have room to punish the greed of MarineLorD, which is 1 Reaper straight into that reactor. The Reaper pokes right across from MarineLorD, and as he chops around, he sees no expansion right away, so you'll know it'll be a bit more of an aggressive setup. I believe MarineLorD took the second hit there, so he backs away from Clem's Reaper. Obviously, can regenerate a little bit, although eventually will be chased down by a Hellion as well. He's going to try and just hang out over here by time. He's got 2 Hellions on the way up back at home, but losing the Reaper definitely gives Clem that little bit of an opportunity to maybe delay that command set. Well, he can't delay the command set, it's finished this time. But maybe do that little bit of damage, a couple SCV kills, just to put the differences aside from the fact that Clem is expanding later here. And even though Clem's expanding later, he is later on the starport, so that's an advantage MarineLorD will have in his side. Faster Raven, potentially, if he wants to get a Viking up, that as well. Maybe a medevac if he wants to harass and do something different to what we've seen so far. Although I'm pretty confident the Raven is just kind of the go-to still in this TVT. It's become so useful. You really just can't play early game TVT without it. Like, it has so many uses throughout the game from that early game as well. So, here you go. Hellions and Reapers diving in. SCV takes a shot already. Hellions coming through and going to be able to get a couple of kills here so far. Nicely done. The Hellions picking up some good damage as we're going to be seeing the Raven on the way out from MarineLorD Factory, going to move to the tech lab. Barracks drops down on the reactor. And these couple of units from MarineLorD backing away into the natural expansion. Cyclones on each side of the map. MarineLorD, though, definitely winning out this early game skirmish. And because of the fact that he had the earlier kind of command center, he's now a couple SCVs ahead as well. So everything for the first 5 minutes here pointing towards MarineLorD, but Clem seems confident to throw that 3rd base down in location once more. He will be the first player onto 3 bases. Now, MarineLorD didn't go to 3 bases last game. He delayed it a lot, and in the end, his push was actually pretty all in, to the point that when he got cleaned up, he knew he wouldn't hold a counter with any sort of success well enough to, you know, put him back into the game. So, left the game then. What do we see this time? Because it's a similar setup from Clem. Does MarineLorD attack again, or does he just set up that 3rd CC? He does, and he doesn't have the confidence to put it down in locations. So that's a little gamble from Clem. That looks like he'll pay off here, because, well, I mean, I guess as well he does have 2 Cyclones, so in fairness he does have more map control, so it makes sense that he gets that 3rd down on location. And Clem, that's a little advantage that he will have despite the 7 worker lead from MarineLorD. And it helps a little bit just because of the time it takes to float down to the low ground. You know, it might only be 20 seconds, but that's an extra SCV build time. You can get SCVs mining on the 3rd base right away as Clem. As the lock-ons happen, I think that lock-ons are better from MarineLorD and the Interference Matrix to turn it around. Hellion's still chasing that Cyclone. The other Cyclone's chasing in as well. Obviously, the Cyclone will not catch the other Cyclone, but the Hellion will still get some shots off. And now MarineLorD, for a moment, I thought he might turn up towards the third base. It's going to finish in time anyways, so even if he had pushed up there, wouldn't have done much. Love this siege tank. Really tucks itself into that forward corner and is able to really cover a big space. MarineLorD comes around the top. He's going to get the SCV for his efforts. Well, Hellion gets locked onto, actually. Will back away, still alive. MarineLorD with the information then that the third base is down, that he shouldn't delay his own third movement into location for too long. He'll build the orbital first on the high ground, though. The faster that orbital builds, the sooner it starts building up energy for those mules, of course. So there we go, that being set up right now. A few more SCVs on the way out, couple of siege tanks as an extra factory from Clem. He's already on 2. Going into a third, he's going to be playing some mech here on Port Alexander. Well, a little bit behind. Playing mech is definitely one way to put yourself in a position where you can win out. As we're going to be seeing the Cyclone, a couple of Hellions pushing forwards. Mech can definitely play from a bit of a deficit and kind of play that catch-up sort of position. One Cyclone picked off, the other Cyclone is going to go down, but so does the Cyclone of Clem. As MarineLorD's pressing forwards, and there is not really anything too much here for Clem at the moment. 2 Vikings coming in. There's the first auto turret. That tank's just going to unsiege and back away instantly. Vikings from MarineLorD getting some shots, but the Vikings of Clem are ready in a moment or two. He loses this tank over here. I mean, the third base has to be lifted. And that's going to be MarineLorD taking that advantage of his third base now being in location, while Clem's lifts up and evacuates, not building SCVs any longer. Now, this is really good for MarineLorD now, and really putting Clem into a tough spot. The Ravens, if they move forwards, okay, they've moved forwards enough to see the extra factories, so he knows it's mech now as well. He actually forces the SCVs to come forwards and to repair this here, because this does a lot of damage done. He's going to drop auto turrets onto this as well. The Vikings can land. He's going for the kill on the third, and he gets it. MarineLorD with a huge play costs him a fair few units, as his auto turrets will not quite hold on as he backs off, but he turns for another Viking. Killing that third orbital command is a huge play. What a commitment. Great use of the Raven energy. I mean, to put Clem onto 2 bases could at some points in some games probably put him all in. I think it will here. He doesn't have the money to rebuild a base right away. He's hugely behind on the work account. Clem has the army supply advantage, but obviously MarineLorD is going to have Raven energy to help defend. He's got Vikings. He's going to have a lot of tanks to defend with too. I kind of like it from MarineLorD. Oh, Clem actually does have more Raven energy. That's a pretty big factor here. Missile turret coming down to try and help out. There go the matrixes on all of the siege tanks. All the turrets will come down from MarineLorD to try and hold off this army from pressing forwards. The Vikings from Clem decide to land in the end. 3 tanks survive. One of them goes down very quickly after. Now the Vikings of MarineLorD will land 2. The tanks of Clem taking a lot of damage. Those couple of siege tanks getting good shots off to clean up in the end. It's not quite a cleanup, but there's very little left over. The Ravens from MarineLorD alive still too. And I think MarineLorD probably has enough, because he just takes a more defensive position now a bit further back. Although moving forwards there has to be careful. Doesn't want to take the shot onto his tank. He does. Probably ends up being okay though. Did he get the splash damage from the missile turret? I think he might have been. Vikings land, picks off another tank. MarineLorD shuts down the attack of Clem in the end. A hectic engagement. You see the third CC does rebuild from Clem behind this. But at the end of the day, MarineLorD's coming out with 72 workers, still mining across 3 bases. Army supply is evening out. He's got the upgrade lead. Yes, he's playing bio versus mech, but he's in prime position to just overwhelm the mech army before Clem is really able to get enough done with this. Crazy couple moments here in this TVT as Hellions and tanks prepare themselves to perhaps move down this ramp. The Vikings and the Ravens still setting up. The bio here from MarineLorD spreading out a little bit. You see that third command center from Clem drop down as well now as, well, a tank shot from MarineLorD, able to get a couple of kills on a Hellion there. There we go. Bio going to start sending forwards as he crests into the tanks. He drops 1 interference matrix. It's all he's got. I don't think the bio's really enough there. He kills off one of the tanks, which is nice. He's actually still in range, but he's not going to be able to get the final shot. So Clem still with some potential, and now he might be able to deny this third base. The issue for MarineLorD is someone who supplies these Ravens, which isn't doing a lot. And he's also got a lot of Vikings. They're also not really doing anything right now. I think MarineLorD wants to wait for the Ravens to get a bit more energy, maybe an interference matrix each, which is right now. Then you can shut this down to 1 tank left over. It's obviously going to be the tank that's super low as well. That's not going to be matrixed. He threatens the matrix, but he doesn't actually get it. The Vikings force the other Vikings to land. The siege was there. Tanks just moving forward. They're still in range of that orbital, which is now being repaired. MarineLorD has so many SCVs. He's even moving into a 4th base already. So losing this base isn't huge, and that is big. He's got the air controls, so the Liberators come forward. Here we go. The Hellions dive forwards. The tanks on siege. Now the Bio will jump in. He drops auto turrets. The 1 siege up tank goes down. Huge cleanup by MarineLorD as Clem will lose everything on this bottom side of the map. GG. MarineLorD takes game 3 in the series. We'll advance through this as we do have to the bottom right-hand side. In game number 1, our red Terran player. These two are very good friends. They play against each other a lot, and they are very good friends when they go to events and so on, traveling together and so on and so forth. Bottom right-hand side, our red Terran player. This is Clem. Top left-hand side, our blue Zerg. We've got Infinity Gaming's Denver, as both these players on Infinity Gaming, both teammates here, seeing what they can set up for and seeing what they can do. Okay, so game 1 of the best of 3 underway. Overlord coming out into the middle of the map, and we do see Rax just dropping down from Clem in the main base. A few drones on the way up from Denver as well, so just getting that set to go. Hatchery first, not going to be any sort of pool first shenanigans. We've seen him going pool first against MarineLorD earlier today. We also saw him try to go for a Nidus against MarineLorD in that game number 2. That went horribly wrong for him. One game he won against MarineLorD when he tried to play mech. Otherwise, MarineLorD just sort of, game 2, the Nidus got completely destroyed. In the 3rd game, MarineLorD with that proxy free Rax. So, interested to see Denver maybe get to play a game against just proper Bio. We'll see if Clem brings that out for us here, because we haven't seen Denver versus Bio yet today. So, that's what I'd like to see maybe in this series as we get this rolling. Again, don't forget Group C tomorrow, going to be featuring TLO, Geralt, Soul, and Namshaw. That's happening from 7 PM CET once again, same start time as today. And on Friday, we've got Group D, Euthermal, Skillus, Ziggy, and Minato. Bit of a different group, some players you don't usually see in our events, and I kind of like it. I feel like, Ziggy and so on are players that we, Skillus, players we've brought in before, and they've given us good games. I feel like that's really a group where they're all very competitive with each other. And so, while it's maybe not the superstars, it actually should be a good fight over 2nd place, as Euthermal will definitely the heavy favourite. We're coming forwards, a couple of Lings hanging out in the natural expansion, the 3rd hatch. Is obviously not on its way just yet. Denver not able to sneak a drone away. Maybe as he pushes this Reaper back, he'll attempt it. Looks like he just wants to focus up and getting some queens out here early, though, for the moment. As Reaper actually picks off a drone, which was just a moment too late to become the Spore Crawler. Queen from Denver pushing out, and the Reaper is going to be pulling away. Link speed coming up to being about halfway done. The starport on its way in the main base. The command center finishing up on the natural. And those couple of Hellions and the Marine continuing to pop on out here as well. Still getting this up as we see Metabolic Boost coming through. That's over halfway done. The starport just over halfway as well. And Clem just looking good with this so far, as you do see the Queen able to pick off that SCV. And finally the 3rd hatchery able to drop on down. Just as Ling speed's finishing up, so Denver will be able to take some map control of those Lings. Although it's also just the Hellions on the map. The Hellions will have to be a bit careful of that Ling speed being present as well. Don't want to get surrounded and lose those early Hellions, as he'll just use them for the moment after losing. It wasn't the SCV, it was the Reaper that he lost, obviously. I misspoke. But he'll use those early Hellions to confirm the 3rd hatchery is indeed now on its way, which gives him a bit of info as to what the possibilities are, perhaps, from his opponent's aggression. Armory coming down as he sets up in towards some Hellbats. Ling is trying to pick up info. And the Ling on the high ground will have seen the 2 Marines and the barracks building the 3rd, so that's some information you can maybe use to identify this Hellbat Marine push, the 420 timing, because the Hellbats tend to morph in at around the 420 marker. Looks like this one might be just a little bit sooner. He's still 10 seconds away from an Armory, so yeah, it's going to be just between 415 and 420 as the Hellions. And a couple of creep tumors. There's nothing here to defend in Denver apart from Lings and Queens. The Hellions already taking a lot of damage though, which is actually kind of painful. Medevac as well. The more damage you take now, the worse this is going to be as a follow-up. I mean, this Medevac is going to go down before it heals any of these Hellions up as Hellbats. I mean, okay, you got some damage done onto the Queens, but now, I mean, again, the Hellbats are already low. There's no healing on them. I don't feel like this is how it's meant to go for Clem at all. There's a few Zerglings already sacrificing themselves in there. Queens continue to pull away. This one gets off creep. Hellbats will pick up another Queen kill too, and a couple more coming in. I mean, still the lack of anything but Zerglings is becoming very apparent right now. And you see the creep still pushing further forwards. Queen gets picked off then. We are going to be seeing those Hellbats and Marines from Clem going to get pushed away. Zerglin's going to dive on in, picking up that Hellbat there as well, so that gets picked off too. And again, a couple more Spore Crawlers coming into play from Denver. Lair on the way up on the natural, couple of Queens coming out. Banshee, more Hellions. More being produced right now as this Banshee from Clem comes out. Flying over a few of the Zerglings already. The Hellions coming in, they are going to be able to pick away with some of these Zerglings here. Hellions definitely taking some damage. The Ling's able to be turned away a little bit. Continue to get picked off at the moment as we do see the depot will drop. And the SCV just going to be about 75% done on that command center. So command center really quite far along here as the Banshee from Clem is able to pick up a drone. Lair on the way up, and we are going to be seeing the Evo Chambers, the Bane and Nest coming down in the natural. Banshee cloaked up is able to push that Queen in towards the mineral line as well. And the Zerglings of Denver just hanging out on the ramp as well. And we see more Hellions coming through. Already picking up a single drone kill. The other drone's actually getting very low. The Banshee didn't target them down as they ran towards it though, so maybe a lost opportunity from Clem. Extra factories, by the way, means we are going to be seeing mech. Already the extra Hellions and Hellbats are a bit of a sign of mech, the fact that you continue to build them. They're very mineral intensive, and so if you continue to build Hellions, you really delay further barracks production, and adding on those extra racks, engineering bays, all those things that require quite a few minerals. So already seeing extra Hellions is a pretty good sign that mech is this kind of play from Clem. And those extra factories obviously for us a confirmation. That's something that Denver has not quite scouted yet, but I think at this point you see this many Hellions, he starts at +1 melee and +1 missiles. So he's going to play a Lingbane Hydra style against this. Spore Crawler relocating as the Banshee picks up even more kills in the main. I really feel there's been chances for Clem to get more drones than he did. As we see the Cyclones on the way out with the Magfield Accelerator upgrade. Hellion, Cyclone, the composition of choice right now from Clem. 6 drones down as we are going to be seeing this third CC from Clem. Setting up down on the bottom side. SCV is going to be moving out and Clem going to move them over towards the third base as well. Hydralisk down on the way up, just about halfway done, +1 missiles and melee. The Bane and Nest, the Bane and Speed coming through also right now. Yeah, that extracted from Denver just about to finish up, so you can pop a couple drones off into it. And we are going to be seeing the Banshee again, just going to be able to pick its way through this hatch. So a little bit of damage being done as the Overseers was under fire for a moment. Cyclones doing a little bit, but not too much. And again, 2 Cyclones, 2 Hellions, and 2 Hellbats just gathering up out the front. And a couple of workers going into those refineries. More Zerglings hanging out over on the right-hand side and just going to get ready to push on forwards. That's one melee, missiles, Grew Spines, all of this coming through. Again, that's about halfway done. I was impressed by the damage Clem got done in the end. I mean, obviously the lack of anything other than Lings was a bit of a downfall from Denver, but I really felt with picking off the Medevac so soon and the damage he got done with the Hellions before they became Hellbats. I was very surprised that then he was able to Clem was able to do so much after that. Oh my god, these Hellions are going to see those Zerglings, and we'll be able to just kite and pick off a bunch of those before they're really going to be active. You kind of try and turn around, and Denver actually gets a few of them out there. Tell you what, Denver's group spread is pretty insane, pushing through the top side, pushing down to the bottom. It's a lot of map control that Denver's setting up for himself here. Hellions and Cyclones pressing forwards. A couple creep tumors still being cleaned out. Lings from Denver coming around the top side. Going to want to try and run in now as Clem pulling back down to the bottom. Hydras picking their way through some rocks. Hive on the way up on the natural expansion. +2 melee and +2 missiles coming in as Denver gets this continuing. Again, Clem wanting to push forwards here, maybe pushing towards a couple of these creep tumors already. These 2 Liberators from Clem going to go all the way over to the left-hand side. They're going to end up coming up towards the top side and trying to harass a little bit. Oh, Lings get a full surround here. Those Hellions and Cyclones in trouble. That's a great initial kickoff. The Lings back away to kind of dodge away from more of the Hellion fire. This is Muscular Augment, so still doesn't have that Hydra speed. If he gets on the creep, it becomes a bit safer for him and he turns to fight. The Cyclones obviously doing what Cyclones do best. What I love the most about Denver's kind of build right now is that he's getting the Hive about finished. And the faster you get the Hive and in towards Vipers, the better a time you're going to have against this army, because Vipers really are a crucial thing to have. I mean, you start abducting in a few of these Cyclones, those are very expensive losses that Clem is going to struggle to really reproduce and to really keep up with. As those libs actually dive by a lot of air unit, or anti-air units, and take a lot of damage before they arrive here in the natural expansion. Denver's Queen goes down before it gets a single kill, and it's a bit of a shame because he should have kept that Queen alive. Well, Clem uses that as an opportunity to push forwards here. No Liberator range yet, right? A fusion core in that lib range would actually go a long way, because with the Hydras coming in as a major part of this army, Liberator range really, with a lot of Liberators, just stops Hydras ever doing anything useful, and they trade so well against those Hydras. As Denver ends up coming around the side, you can see he's trying to set up those flanks, come in from the side of this Solid Kill and Hellion army, so he doesn't just get kited away super easily. Doesn't happen just yet, although a few Banes get on top of the army. If you turn to fight now, you're in danger of those Banes connecting, but off of creep, he finds himself a moment and he is able to trade effectively. Lib sieged up over here, drone's not mining. I have to say, Clem's found some very good trades recently, and we are desperate to see Denver get an answer to the Cyclones. Those Vipers finally will begin to be that, but has Clem already maybe just done a bit too much here? Gets an Overlord, still has a good army pressing through. He's actually building siege tanks already now as well, and starting to press forwards with these. Those Liberators cleaning out quite a few Hydras on the top side as well, so even when they're being cleaned up, those Libs are finding value. Two Hellions have snuck their way around into this mineral line and finding a few drones as well. I mean, this forward base should be dead. The Cyclone should have moved forwards and locked on. I guess he's afraid to lock on in case the army commits in as he's locked on, because that is obviously the time where Denver is most likely to go, and the most likely to be successful. And here we go. Cyclones having to kite away. The Brutals coming in with this as well. You can see the Lynx trying to surround, allowing the Banes to connect. The Hydra's starting to get in range as well. Extra Hellions showing up to buffer. The Vipers show up, but they don't have energy yet as well. The Banes, extra ones running in. Tanks get sieged up. Denver just doesn't have that much army supply anymore, and that's going to be too much from Clem as he cleans this up. Picks up game number 1 to the playoffs, which will happen this Saturday. Let's kick this off to the top right-hand side. Our Red Zerg, who's down a map. This is Denver. And to the top left-hand side, our Blue Terran. We've got Clem. Yeah, just to talk to the chat a little bit, I think fungal growth is obviously good if you land on the Hellions and Cyclones, but it's getting fungal growth out. The thing is, investing into the Infestors, it's just like you got to get the Infestors up and so on. I just really feel like Vipers are a much better option, but what happened here is that Denver definitely took a bit too much damage. And as he took a bit too much damage, the Vipers came out. There was only 2 of them. They never got energy. They were never really part of a fight. As soon as you get like 4 to 5 Vipers up and they start abducting, pretty much every fight you're killing at least 4 Cyclones. If not getting 2 abducts off per Viper, you're killing 8 Cyclones. Now suddenly that's a very different scenario to when you're picking off a couple of Hellions and a Cyclone here and there. So those Vipers are really a huge turning point against that Cyclone Hellion style. And they just have that little bit kind of smoother sort of usefulness as well, because then if he tries to switch into tanks, Infestors are not going to be as great. But if you switch in towards, if you switch into tanks and there's Vipers, they're still very useful. The other thing I will say as well about Infestors is obviously, I feel it's much harder to get Infestors in position to hit a good fungal, because they're always going to be aiming the fungal at the edge of the army, right? It's very hard to hit a fungal in the center of that army. Whereas the Vipers, they just need to hit close enough to pick off one single Cyclone. So it's a lot less hit and miss. I think it's just a lot easier to kind of connect onto, because it almost feels like the Infestors have to be in front to hit the fungals, but then they're going to get targeted down. The Vipers can kind of come in a bit behind and still grab those abducts. So yeah, let's see what happens as we jump into game number 2 of Clem and Denver. Denmark is the best, dude. How you doing? Long time no see. Thanks to you so much for the 100 bits. Terran map boy. I've seen actually Terrans do pretty well in this map considering it's so large. As we get this started up, game 2. Not a lot happening in early game. Denver is again not going into a super fast bird hatch. Looks like he'll delay that in favor of Queens and that link speed already, so just getting that underway. As we do see the factory dropping down in the main base. Reactor coming in on the barracks as well. We are going to be seeing that link speed from Denver coming up at the moment. Reaper getting a couple of shots off on the drone. Extractor will end up going down. Grenade blasts the Queen around a little bit as well. As we do see link speed coming in on the main base. Awesome. So that link speed coming up. Obviously the Reaper just dancing around as you usually expect. SCV will block the drone on the 3rd. And that drone has to become an extractor because otherwise the Reaper's going to be there to get the kill. Reaper just going to keep itself away from the extractor right now. Maybe try and bait the drone to kind of cancel. Maybe thinking the drone heading up to this base to take the third. It's not. So this drone will be able to cancel, build their hatchery, and get going. Lings in position, turn that Reaper away from the main base too. There we go, finally the cancel, finally the hatch coming down. Just prioritize a couple more drones, the Queen before that hatchery. That's okay, I mean, third hatch still comes down a bit later than he wanted it to, but he still gets other benefits from delaying it a little bit. Liberator on the way up here from Clem, more Hellions continue to come out, and the Queen's continuing to produce as well over on the right-hand side. Denver with this Overlord pressing forwards. Obviously just keeping a couple of these nearby, and we'll see what Clem's style's going to be this time already. Hellions and a Liberator, different to the build we saw in game number 1. We'll see if an Armory comes down too, although I feel an Armory probably should start. If it doesn't start with the next set of minerals, then I don't think an Armory's coming down. It's just going to be Hellions. So not a Hellbat attack, just Hellions and a Liberator. As we do see this Marine going to fight against the Overlord. Overlord gets good info though, straight through into the main. Is going to see the Starport is down. No Tech Lab as well, so knows it's not going to be a Banshee. Likely to be a Viking or a Medivac, and he is not going to last long enough to see the Liberator popping out. So that's a good lack of information in the end from, you know, in terms of what Clem could have denied. He does kill that Overlord just about in time. As the factory building up a Tech Lab as well. Stim back on the way down. Going to be seen as Zergling. Actually, if the Watchtower probably does just glimpse that Liberator, didn't click it in time to actually go and check. Third CC from Clem will build, and you can see 2 Queens in a Spore. Yeah, he's so prepared for this attack into the main. And this Liberator has no choice. I mean, he's going to go and hide in the top right corner, give himself a couple different options, maybe dive down to the natural, or come into this main on a different angle. Looks like he's going to go straight down towards the natural. Still has Hellions on the map, so you know, Queens go to deal with this Liberator. Tell you what, the Queens are actually out of position on the natural. One's coming forwards now. Meanwhile, Hellions are going to get a few Zergling kills over here. This Queen goes down. The drones are just going to be left, so Clem's going to find a lot of damage. Those Hellions end up getting away. This Queen's going to go down as well. No transfuse. That's 2 Queens lost. Finally gets the kill. 2 drones, 2 Queens. That Liberator's paid for itself. As, oh, you can see the Hellions, they want to dive in. Maybe get the drones as they were stacked up and pulled away, or getting back to mining. Still finds a few more. 4 more kills. That's 5 more kills. 7 kills total. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. It is going to be bio this game as well as the third CC comes up. It's kind of weird, but it is hard to play a mech on such a large map like this, because it is, you know, usually like, well, a mech likes the macro maps, it likes the large maps, but actually, in a weird way, it's kind of better to play bio on the large maps because you have so much potential to build up with aggression early, and then late game Terran, if you can get there in a good spot because you've applied pressure, is actually pretty a good amount of bases up here on year 0. So the bio really lends itself to that, rather than the mech, which can maybe just give the Zerg too much to go into the late game with, because you're not able to deny bases. With Hellion Cyclone, maybe you can deny bases a bit more easily. But that is definitely not a guarantee, as this Liberator heads on back towards the upper left-hand side of the map here. So Liberator heading back towards the upper left. Do you see a few Zerglings hanging around in the center, and this Orbital Command just going to lift up and drop down to the third base. As 1-1 upgrades coming up on each side of the map. Combat shields coming in as well. And Zergling's actually going to find a few SCVs already trying to mine on that third. So that's actually nice. 3-4 workers. Definitely not bad. Okay, the Lings will probably go down, but still 4 workers killed. Definitely nothing to kind of give away lightly. Clem down 20 workers, and that just shows you how greedy Denver's been. Considering he lost SCV drones as well, the rebuild on drones has been huge, and if Clem gets a bit of a push going with +1/+1 stem and combat shields, there's some potential to get some damage done, because Denver really will not have benefited from that many drones this quickly. He's going to go into the Spire as well. The Muta's definitely a popular choice when you go into these larger maps, and that is what we're seeing at the moment. Those are getting set up. Just going to see the Liberator siege. A few of these Zerglings getting picked off at the moment, so a few Lings are going down. Nice pickoffs indeed, as the Marines and the tanks from Clem gathering up down to the bottom. Denver just with this Zergling here in the center. Just going to be chilling out as well. He's like, yeah, I could be a Zerg unit if you want me to, just because you don't let me build out of your lava. Burst Stampede. And it's like, oh, tank on the low ground gets a shot. So here we go. This is the push I was talking about from Clem that maybe has some potential. There is going to be 1-1 from Denver. He will have Bane speed as well. Now, is he going to run into this already? Tanks will siege. Okay, just forces the siege. That's nice, because obviously this slows Clem down a little bit. It takes forever for Clem to push down to this bottom side of the map. Actually has one tank left behind there. Needs to keep bringing that forwards. His goal, Clem, is to push this bottom side base. Using this high ground, a couple of tanks can siege up in these corners very easily. Sends the medevacs to go and retrieve those tanks as well. Makes it a very difficult position for Denver to push into. Even if he comes in from a couple of angles. Denver didn't make mutas yet. There you go, those tanks sieging up. You can see, I mean, it really depends a lot on the kind of the tank fire here. Tanks deal with the units on the left side pretty easily. Counter-attack as well. Zergling's running straight across. SCVs have to pull away, but the Marines will come up. There's a lot of lings that are missing from the fight. If Clem can focus on fighting, he might be able to force something here with so many lings out of position. It's rough, though, because he has to pull quite far back to get the tanks in the fight with where they're positioned. 16 SCVs go down. Now those lings are coming back home as well. He does target down the Banes on the right side to begin with. Stims again needs to get rid of the Balins before he can fight the rest of the lings. In the end, he's just going to lift up and end up backing away. Good cleanup from Denver with the damage he did to that mineral line as well. That really costs Clem quite a lot here as those medevacs pull up into the center of the map. So Marines up into the middle. I mean, in the end, just a little bit too much from Denver. He's prepared well for this. That over-drone early has paid off. He didn't get punished for going up to so many drones. And that counterattack, the best part of it was I'm surprised the lings stayed alive. I thought with the Marines stimming up here, they were going to just shut those lings off, but they ran down to the bottom right, joined the fight, and that was an absolutely critical moment. Now mutas are coming out as well, and it's going to really shut down the drop play potential. You can see already two medevacs here have to turn away because the mutas are on them. Although the mutas... Okay, transfused to save one of them. That medevac goes super low. Now that's kind of cornered in as well. We get some creep tumors and a queen on the bottom side as well as Clem adds on a 4-2-2 upgrades on the way out. Still fighting with a 14 worker deficit. Starting to build a fourth base as well as these two medevacs fly back over to the left-hand side. Again, those mutas just coming up to the top. Lings and Banes coming down to the bottom. So Denver getting set up here. As we do see those mutas from Denver on the top side, wanting to push on through. The Marines on the watchtower getting cleaned up. I mean, Marine position's good to deny those mutas. Thing is, Denver with the mutas is not wasting any time going into the infestation pit and setting himself up well for the later stage of this game. As you see the mutas flying through, that siege tank going to get picked up pretty quickly as well. SCV also gets taken down. 4 production is underway. There was 2 4s in production. Looks like neither of them are out just yet. There we go. There's a 4. And the mutas have so much space to get out here. There's so much dead air on the top of year 0. One of the powers of the mutas on this map is that you're never really going to get cornered in. It's almost impossible to get trapped with those mutas. We do see the 4th base not continuing to build, and that's an issue. As Clem will just fight and take that watchtower control. Mutas will dive in for the medevac. Costs him 1 muta, maybe 2 if he target fires. Only 1 muta. Definitely worth the trade because he gets a medevac and the Marines. I mean, Denver just maxed out, building up a bank. I mean, Hive Tech on the way. It's getting real rough for Clem, who I think his 2-2 finishes might just have to go for one larger push, but it takes so long to push across the map here on year 0. That early game attack getting shut down for Clem really has just set him into a tough spot to continue now. As we're going to be seeing more Banes rolling around, more Banes morphing in. Mutas gathering up, coming into the top side. Marines here from Clem as well, hanging out also, and they are going to pick off a couple of those mutalisks already. Well, that's not bad. 3 mutas for the Marines. It's a lot of Ling Bane over here as well. And where's the splash damage? I mean, there's a couple of tanks, but that's about all. Bane's rolling in. Clem's going to have to become a splitting god right now. And see we go. I mean, this is off of creep, so it's something for Clem. And the lack of creep spread definitely helps him to fight this. The mutas unable to really come in and help as well, but there's just so much from Denver. As he crashes on through this, it looks like he'll clean up this entire army. And he's going to survive to take us to a Game 3. Game 3 of this series, which means that the winner of that map will advance to the quarterfinals. The other will be eliminated as Clem will not have anything left really. The lings are going to stream across the map as reinforcements. Well, the missile turret's actually holding on right now and is actually stopping these mutas from continuing to end the game. As he pushes this tank back, I mean, there's still a few lings here as well. There's the extra lings. That's going to be the problem. Some lings feel away, and that's going to be Clem tapping out. There's something else to watch, but for now, let's jump into the TVZ. Bottom right, it's Denver. And again, the winner of this map, which could be Clem, our Blue Terran, will go through to the playoffs on Saturday. We'll be looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys will be looking forward to it as well. I most definitely am. I'm already hyped, guys. I'm already so excited. It should be great. It should be awesome, actually. Just looking forward to that as we get this underway. We see this Overlord of Denver coming out through the center, heading towards the upper left-hand side. As You see the rack's going to be finishing up from Clem. Just to the front, so part of the wall off here. It's a pretty narrow wall off this area. I'm surprised he does it in this position because this reactor will be exposed to any sort of pressure in. Even if you just get a few lings early and there's nothing to defend, I mean, that reactor is very exposed. So it's definitely something that could be punished a little bit as the command center drops down on the natural. And the Overlord of Denver heading up to the top left side. The other Overlord coming through to the top as well as this hatchery going to finish up. So hatchery is able to finish here. And Denver is going to ask for a quick pause. Hopefully nothing too serious or too long. And we'll be able to jump right back into this in a moment. So just a few moments here, please, guys. We do see that factory coming on into play. Clem just has a SCV in there. Go-go's called so we can get this resumed. Straight back in. You can kind of see the wall-off that's been set up here. Barracks will lift and... okay, so he's going to build the reactor over here. So what this does is probably he will build like another depot or something in this location to fill the gap when the factory moves away. So it actually kind of makes sense. I like it. Honestly, I didn't like it with the reactor being part of the wall, but this reactor now... I think this is the wall here. It ends like that. It's kind of weird on Cyber Forest. This bush is like a bit of a... It's like really hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure the wall-off is this area here. So the reactor is kind of safe and tucked away. This bush acting as a blocker. Go bush. You're the savior of that reactor in this game. So 47 is with the 300 bits. Thank you so much for the 300. Much appreciated. How you doing lately, dude? Haven't had a chance to chat to you in a while. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate it as always. Reaper just hanging out down the low ground. Third hatchery building up from Denver. Some extra drones. Unlink speed on the way from Denver too. Overlord continues to come in towards the upper left-hand side. Armory dropping down from Clem. As that armory drops down, Orbital's about halfway done. Couple of Hellions just going to continue popping out and heading down towards the bottom right-hand side. So it's an armory. It's going to be a Hellbat attack. The no lack of a starport here means it's a really fast Hellbat attack as well, like faster than usual. Bane Nest already on the way from Denver, but it's such a fast Hellbat attack, the Bane Nest might not have an impact here. Let's see a Ripper Grenade coming down. I mean, that lane, every lane you lose right now is actually kind of costly. 16 more lings on the way up. This Overlord has scouted the armory, so he knows the timing of this as well. Another Reaper even coming over as Clem. Feels very committed to this. The lings are going to maybe find those Hellions, though. He doesn't quite find it yet. The other Hellions coming in to try and save the day. It's a lot of lings going down for what? 2 Reapers and a Hellion so far? It buys time as well, though. And now the Baneland Nest will get a chance to come into play. The Queen's struggling a little bit with no creep on this low ground to connect the third and the natural. It means the Queens are very slow to kind of transfer between bases. Those 3 Hellbats aren't going to do anywhere near enough. The slings surround. Complete shutdown from Denver. He's very low on drones because it looks like he wants to counterattack. With a Baneland Nest available, he could counterattack with a Baneland Bust, and he could break straight through the wall. Oh, this is looking really good with the amount of Hellions he's killed. Clem is building more Hellions. Let's see if it's enough. Those lings should morph into Banes any second right now. So you see those Banes on the way up. The Zerglings nearly catching the Hellions here. I mean, that's the thing. The more of these Hellions that go down right now, the less there is to defend the, the rest of this as they come in towards the natural. So those Hellions chased all the way to the side. The Banes are going to roll up this ramp, and oh no, that's going to be dead. Depots. Banes rolling in towards SCVs already. They're actually going to keep themselves around. Hellbat's on the low ground. He goes for the surround Denver. Hellbats tuck themselves into a bit of a corner. And those Hellbats are still low, though. No, the next depot wall-off doesn't come up in time. Another couple of Hellions popping out. One surrounded instantly. This one's going to be on the wrong side of the factory. Hops up to the main. No wall-off here because the wall-off was all on the low ground early game, as we mentioned. Third CC is going to get cancelled, as we're going to be seeing SCVs in the main or dropping in. Clem is just losing so much right now. 20 workers killed. Denver's still making Ling Bane. He's only ahead by 6 workers, but canceling the third is obviously huge. He's getting more Banes to bust through the front as well. Engineer and Bay, I think there's still a gap to get to that Zergling, perhaps? Lings in the main have now been cleaned up. Here we go. Oh my god, the barracks. Nearly actually being out of position there. The next Engineering Bay trying to come up in time. The Baneling goes forward. That's 2 Hellbats killed with that 1 Baneling. SCP is dropping again. Denver struggling to find the better fights. I mean, it's a weird little spot, right? He's going to dive up into the main base again. He's still making Lings and Banes. More Banes on the way out. SCVs in the main keep dropping. I mean, Clem has no choice other than to keep building Hellions. Another couple of Lings pushing forwards, just fighting against the Hellbat wherever possible. Looks like this isn't actually a bit of a wall-off. Looks like that reactor might have been a little bit exposed in the end, as we're going to be seeing a couple of Banes. I mean, if he kills that reactor with Banelings, that would be really sick. He's going to get the surround on the Engineering Bay before the SCVs can repair. That's going to open a much larger gap now. Yeah, if Banes can hit that reactor, that'd be sick, because obviously it shuts down the Hellion production, which has been a major part of defending right now from Clem, who's still only 8 workers behind. All said and done, he's going to lose the barracks. I mean, again, it's advantages that Denver continues to build on. He's still going to get more workers here. A couple of Banes morphing into the main base now as well. Maulings running up in towards the natural, but maybe catches that Hellion as soon as it pops out. I mean, every Hellion or Hellbat that goes down is just a little bit more opportunity for these Zerglings to really make this a bit too much. Banes over here, even just a little connection brings those Hellbats lower in health. Every Hellbat that goes down is more opportunity for Denver to maybe win this game. As it stands, Clem has held, still only has Hellion/Hellbat production, pulls some SCVs to repair. Lack of a wall-off now, a problem, because the Banes don't have to go off on a depot or anything. They can just go straight into the Hellbats. That forces them to split. It creates space for the Lynx around. That could be a major issue here, as those Hellions continue to get set up. Depot dropping down, a few Lynx to the right, Banes on the left. Hellion's gonna go, Lynx, sorry, gonna dive in. Oh my god, he's just gonna go and try and surround the Hellions. Oh my god. Well, the Banes are trying to connect. Obviously, he's morphing the Hellions, thinking he's got enough Hellions to just micro around. It's an interesting choice from Clem, not having the Hellbats. It's because he doesn't want, against the Banes, I think the Hellions are better because they can micro away. And with enough Hellions, he says, well, actually, I'm okay here. The big issue for Clem is now a Rotoron coming down from Denver. Until this Rotoron is done, this is maybe not actually that much of an issue. Whereas this Hellion on the other side should be able to hold off. If Clem can attack and deal damage before the Rotoron, I'm kind of a believer, but as it stands, if the Roaches get up here, there is absolutely nothing to defend a Roach attack. Now, Denver doesn't have a ton of money. He's only just now finally starting extra drones to saturate his natural and to maybe start getting some workers on the third. Hellbat's holding this ramp at the moment. I mean, looks like Denver making a couple more Overlords, really freeing up supply to build Roaches here. I mean, he definitely needs some Roaches to defend the Hellions if they come across the map. Clem has a third base, 2 more factories coming in. He's going to start turning this into mech here. So again, that's set up to go. And Denver in the end, I mean, it felt as though he was starting to break through, but all said and done, well, now Clem is... The thing is, Clem never fell that far behind on workers, I guess. You know, he was always within 5 to 8, which with a double mule is good. You can see the income was never really favorable for Denver. Maybe at some point, if he'd stopped making Lings and made those extra drones, it would have been okay, but obviously it's hard to judge that. More Banes morphing in as the Roaches are coming across the map. The Queens as well. He's going for 1 all-in to try and end this. So Denver wants to end this in the very next few moments. A couple more Hellions on the way out. Cyclone plus 1 vehicle plating coming in. I mean, the Cyclone's going to be a big helping hand against the Roaches, but will it be in time? There's still a lot of Hellions here, so the Banes need to be used to bust through the depot wall, give space to the Roaches to then get in front, and to deal with those Hellions, which they should be very good at. Queens with transfusions will keep those Roaches up as well, are also very good against Hellions. As Denver continues to push across the map, a couple Banes getting in range, starting to connect. Ling's going to start streaming in now. The Hellions kind of portioned away by the Roaches. The Lings can obviously really come in here and get a lot done as well, especially on the natural, which is going to be forced to lift up here. SCV is turning around to fight. Cyclones here as well. The Lings trying to engage in. Couple throws of Bowels. Hellbats are slow moving, but those Bowels do not connect. 14 workers killed. Queens with transfusions keeping the Roaches alive with Cyclones. There's one Cyclone just sat on the ramp that's not helping out, and in a fight like this, it's absolutely huge, and in the end, Denver will have a bit too much. This time, Clem, there's no recovery. There's one factory that's really building anything on the low ground. At this point, Lings coming in will just overwhelm the Cyclones. That's the problem. He really needs the Hellion count to be able to hold off the Zerglings, and at this point, more Lings and Banes won't be enough. GG's called by Clem. A crazy game number 3, as Denver takes the series